Встречайте новую карту для жизни от ВТБ и делайте лучше каждый день.
Понедельник день тяжелый.
Но оформить бесплатную карту легко, а пользоваться бесплатно выгодно.
Вторник, день второй.
Делитесь бесплатными переводами и чувствами.
Среда – маленькая пятница.
Позвольте себе больше с большим кэшбэком.
Четверг – рыбный день.
Ловите 1000 рублей после первой покупки по карте.
Пятницы.
Моя очередь и кэшбэк мой.
Делайте лучше каждый день. Оформите новую карту для жизни на vtb.ru.
В этом сезоне нас постигла участь моношина.
Я, в принципе, изначально понимал, что это правильное решение.
Ужасно, отвратительно. Хуже у меня в жизни не было.
На пределы трассы!
В целом мне всегда вообще я еду так, как мне удобно.
Все довольны. Все проезды близкие.
У меня получится все-таки заехать на тумбу, вот, и победить всех парней с форварда.
Мы все понервничали очень сильно. Я, наверное, переживал больше, чем за себя.
Надо побеждать. Вот за этим каждый из нас сюда приезжает.
Happy New Drift, dear friends. Hello and welcome to the Red Ring Circuit. This is the 5th stage of Russian Drift Series 2023. This is the 5th official stage of Rds Gp. And we're about to see 5 groups of qualifiers that have already got to the waiting area. And we've got 5 minutes left. But 5 minutes is quite a big time, quite a long time. We can do a lot of things in these 5 minutes. This far, we see no cars in the burnout area, so I guess they are gonna come very soon. Unfortunately, we've got some losses at this stage. We spoke about this yesterday on Friday in our evening news. Everything is now accessible on YouTube and Rds TV. And of course, we hope that Boris Abramov join us back soon because he has no car this time and Sergei Kabargin has too much things to do. And due to his business, he couldn't come this time. And as for Boris Abramov, we said that we've got one of the drivers who made a discounted sales here, so perhaps he can get a new car here. And now we see the standings, the personal standings. I think that Georgy Chivchan should be getting quite nervous because he's got very little difference in score from his nearest rivals. But we've got leaders, we've got favorites, and the situation in the personal standings is very intense. We remember the season 2021 when Gocha very unexpectedly here had a technical failure. On one hand, it looked very new, it was brand new, and then immediately it caused a big disaster to Gocha and his team. It was very sad and very, very bad to the driver and his old stuff. So you see, this is not necessarily a mistake of the driver that can drop him down in the personal standings, but we hope that everything runs smoothly this time and all the technical things will be working properly. In the team standings, the rivalry between Takayama Forward Ota and Starpro Stars Aimol is very intense. This is going to be exciting to watch. We've got 3 stages left, including this one. Nearly 100 points difference between the two teams, and considering these scores and the amount of points that you can get in one stage, it's more than 300. So everything can change, everything can happen, and even in one stage. And moreover, of course, we're waiting to see this renaissance of Syntac Fresh Marketplace, which began last event at ADM Raceway, and they came back, and all of their successes were on the social media. But 2 cars had to be brought back to life, but our mechanics can do the impossible. They're real heroes. And when you see how they can change an engine on Damir Yaturin's car, they did it without any emotions, without any anxiety, in a very disciplined manner, very businesslike, almost chilled, almost relaxed. And without this emergency, I would even say that we were just relaxing, waiting for this event to begin. You see this black configuration on the asphalt of the Red Ring circuit. Let's recall the judge's task. This time we've got the graphic illustration that you will see now on your screens, and also a very detailed text instruction on how you can get 100 points in the qualifying round. Of course, it all begins with the run in 170 meters under the famous traffic lights. There you do the initiation. There you see lots of lines. First of all, this is the circuit marks, and moreover, there are lots of auxiliary lines that are drawn for the judges to have some references. There are lots of details, lots of little instructions where to press the accelerator pedal, where to let it go, where you are not allowed to let it go no matter what. After OZ 1, which is on the right-hand side, there is a line that marks an area where you cannot let the pedal go. Then before OZ 2, there is another line before which you need to press the gas. There are dotted lines on the run-in that also have a meaning, maybe not very symbolic, but there is some meaning, because before the second dotted line, the leader is not allowed to cross another line, and he's going to be moving within a narrow corridor. It sounds all very complicated, and it is complicated, but we do need some references to understand whether the leader and the chaser are moving correctly to the initiation zone. We will speak about it more later. I hope that the drivers do not need all these rules. I hope that they understand it all, because in the manual it also says that everything can be penalized in case of a contact. Yes, the contacts do happen, and they happen here as well, but I hope we don't see any of them. Yesterday, we also noticed that if you see the no-go zones, there are 15 control points. And if you also add the dotted lines that were added later, that mark the zones where you press or let go the gas line, there are 17. So I think that this is the most marked configuration of Rds Gp. This is just incredible. So many details. Let us not count it, because this is gonna take forever. This is a famous Krasnoyarsk asphalt painting that should be given a name already. But we continue with the judges' task. We've got 5 OZs, no inner touch and goes at all. There are different all the OZs have different lengths. The most expensive one is OZ4, before which the drivers are not allowed to do a very sharp transition. It should be softer. And from the inner touch and go, and then OZ4. And in OZ4, it is allowed to increase the angle. It kind of contradicts the basic principles that we know when we say that the angle within one check zone without one clipping zone should remain the same, but here it's a little bit different. And the angle is medium almost everywhere on the configuration, except for OZ1, where it is allowed to have a big angle. And this is a very rare situation where the backward send can be coming. So a backward shouldn't exceed 95 degrees, but 95 is more than 90. So formally, 99 degrees is a backward. So the drivers are allowed to do so. Here's another very important thing to notice. Now you see the first OZ. It consists of 3 blocks of lines, and this angle that should not exceed 95 degrees, it's only allowed in the 3rd block. So the task of the judges is so detailed, it is so thoroughly designed that this has got to be very hard for our drivers to conform to all these requirements. 95 degrees, everything is very, very accurate. Incredible precision. I guess that we are gonna be as precise as the pharmacy shop. And the reason why such principles were prescribed, of course, explainable. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, the judges asked the drivers to do as many tandem runs as possible. And of course, they were happy to do so, to get as much information about the configuration as possible. And it was discovered that the most comfortable position for the chaser in OZ1 is like V-shaped, not a smooth arc that is rounding near the inner touch and go, but a more aggressive one with a deeper angle towards the end of the first outside clip, and then the car stabilizes and decreases the angle and then slides on a very straight line towards touch and go. So if the leader does it like that, this is very easy and comfortable for the chaser to do his part. We understand that the qualifying task is designed with one certain objective. First of all, to put the drivers in a difficult position and to make them work. And secondly, this is to make the tandem runs possible, to make them spectacular, to keep it comfortable for the chaser. This is what we want to see. Close, proximity, pressing, aggression. This is what we love drifting for. We're going to see it at top 32. I have no doubt that we're going to see a lot of them. If we have no double zeros or technical failures, then the by-runner zone will have 4 people in there. Also, I wonder how and who will get these vacancies in top 4. I'm sure that Arkady Tseregradtsov will be fighting for it, because he's a very efficient, qualifiedly efficient driver. He has got 90% of points that is possible to gain in the qualifying throughout the history of Rds Gp in the red ring, and we've had only 4 of them. And coming back to the figure 4, I want to draw the attention of the spectators to OZ4, which is the most expensive one. And here I want to explain why it is so crucial to add the angle as you slide through it. The track has a natural turn out there, and to fit in there and to get the inner touch and go, to collect it, which is also the 4th inner touch and go, it is very necessary to add more angle, therefore decreasing the speed and pushing your car into the inner touch and go. The entire task of the judges is designed based on the requirements of the drivers to keep it also comfortable for them. The finish should be accelerated with a smooth decrease in the angle. Let us also show you our manual that was given to all the drivers. This is a big manual of the judge's task. This is very big and very long. There is one deceleration zone, and it coincides with the initiation, with OZ1. And another important thing to notice, after OZ1, there is a line where the full throttle begins. And yesterday and the day before yesterday, we saw different runs. We saw how the drivers were trying to get used to it. And after OZ1, you see the transverse line. This is where you must be pressing the right-hand pedal, the accelerator, as much as you can. And this is why it's very dangerous to fly in a big angle, because then it is very hard to keep the car under control, and the chaser doesn't know what to do and what to expect, and very often it causes bad incidents. The only thing that the chaser can do there is decelerate. So you just throw your car following the leader, and then you can just hope that the leader does everything correctly, presses the gas at the right moment, and that you fly together to the adventures in the introduction go and all the other clipping points. If the leader has any difficulties, then the only thing that the chaser can do to thank him is probably a friendly, or not a very friendly, poke to the side, to the door, to the wheel. And this is what happens quite often here at the Red Ring. Just recall the incident of the last season when Evgeny Losev and Georgy Chevchan collided into each other at the initiation, and it was the decisive factor that brought victory to Evgeny Losev. And a similar thing also happened not so long ago, and it was against Evgeny Losev this time. It was a very similar story when Evgeny overdid it with the angle because of his Toyota Mark II, and now he is driving a Toyota JZ Supra that has suffered after a big collision with the concrete blocks at the training, but now it was fixed. Part of the frame was rewelded, the geometry was corrected, the rear part of the car was restored, and while we were walking here to the studio from the gates of the Red Ring, we saw Evgeny Losev, who was very cheerful, very happy, warming up and setting up his car, and he looked very content and full of energy when we saw him in this service park. There is another important thing with the initiation, why it is so nervous in a good sense of this word, why it's so anxious, because the chaser doesn't really have many options. On one hand, you can always imagine a situation where the leader is doing some funny things and the chaser sees it and believes so that it is kind of wrong. Then to save yourself, you can steer away to show that this is not your mistake, because when you're flying after the leader who is hiding in the smoke clouds, it's hard to evaluate whether the leader is doing something right or something wrong. This is why you must be following the leader, chasing him, mimicking him every time, even though both of you can break your cars and find yourself somewhere out in the greens. So in any situation, you're supposed to follow the leader. This is very dangerous to make any decisions of your own. And this is why only the judges have this authority to figure out who is to be blamed. This is a little detail, and we understand how important initiation is. We know how much depends on this element, especially the tandem run. Yesterday at the briefing, the drivers were allowed to initiate at a small angle when they're chases and then added little by little, because otherwise it can be quite dangerous. But having a permission is one thing, and actually applying this decision is a different thing. Because your opponent can risk it and do it the right way, exactly as the leader does it, then the opponent will get a big advantage. We know that the judges really appreciate this riskiness, and when it works out, and there are lots of examples, one of them is Dmitry Ermokhin versus Damir Diatulin and Nizhny Novgorod last year with their endless one more times, and then Damir drove very, very beautifully, maybe more convincing than his opponent, but the decisiveness of Dmitry Ermokhin at the initiation played a big role. And let me repeat it, that all these minimal things and all these recommendations of the judges do matter, but the one who wins is the one who can take the risk and who can handle that risk. But we know that this is all about the tandem runs. Now the qualifying begins. It is very important for the drivers to understand what they need to do at the traffic and what the reasons are for these or of those tasks of the judges. The speed here is pretty high usually, and the turn is very short. So you run in very intensively, and then you need to very precisely select the right speed of entrance to do the right transition and then to do all the actions. Nikolai Garkovenko, representing Carville Racing from St. Petersburg. BMW F22, not Eurofighter, Peter Fighter as we call it, begins his first attempt, and here we go. The running Nikolai Garkovenko is running to his first official battle run of this event. So there you see the dotted line. He doesn't get the first in a clip. He runs around the second touch and go. And here you're supposed to press it because slow down here is not allowed. And this is one curve with those at 3, another inner touch and go. And he loses one wheel outside the track and also at 4. Then he collects the inner touch and go. And here he is also on the inner edge of the track and also at 5. Too many mistakes, and he also collected another zone that he didn't need, that was remained there from the previous events. I think he needed more precision, and this is about this big specificity of the track. This is the rhythm and pace. These two transitions make a certain rhythm, a certain dance, and if you don't fit in there, you don't fit in the right line. And the shift of a half meter to the right and to the left spoils everything up to the second outside zone and sometimes up to the third one. And the third one is actually quite easy to take if you are already there, if you're on the right line. But all these inaccuracies that happened at the beginning, they caused a certain shift in the line. It is hard to do anything differently once you are so imprecise. And I think that the first vector was wrong, as Nikolai Garkovenko went directly to OZ5, which made him have to slow down, and the finish must be accelerated and controlled. 150 kilometers per hour was the initiation speed, according to the Drift Dynamics. Another important thing here that I forgot to mention. This stage, just like the previous Krasnoyarsk event, is dedicated to the memory of Andrei Naumov, who won here at Winter Drift Battle, who was a spotter and a judge of Rds Gp. We remember him, and the drivers have the stickers on their cars. And today, a part of the opening ceremony will be dedicated to him with a little bitter taste, because this is live. As one famous poet once said, "What would you expect from life?" And he said, "I want to be remembered." So we remember the people who made a big contribution to what we do together, to our sport. This is Stepan Zemtsev. Yeah, I think that he shouldn't be nervous already, because one of his drivers has already got a non-zero result, so he can just improve his performance. We repeat it like a mantra over and over again. But the tactic and the qualifying can be different. Someone tries to show the maximum from the very beginning. Someone does a non-zero and then improves it. But when you are doing it to the max from the very beginning, sometimes it can be victorious. So you can never know. You should never ignore this opportunity and take it and catch it by the tail. Anton Klimco is preparing, and this is the result of Nikolai Garkovenko. And this is a total of 79 for Nikolai Garkovenko. Anton Klimco, for the general balance in the universe, is driving a Eurofighter but find 50 differences. St. Petersburg, 900 horsepower, 2 GTE, and 2 kilograms of boost begins moving along the track. He starts off, and here is a very uneven running part, but you need to be very careful to make it run as it's supposed to. Then he makes transition to the second touch and go, and presses and accelerates more and more through also 2 and also 3, which is already left behind. Then he is in no-go zone with 1 wheel. And then finally here in also at 4, he leaves the borders of the track with 1 wheel, which is -2 points of deduction. And the last 5th clipping point and the finish. And the finish is on the very edge of the track, which is pretty risky. Let us see the replay, how he handled this task of the judges. He was more precise than his predecessor, but from this angle it's hard to see whether there was 1 wheel in the no-go zone or not. But it should be remarked that globally, this run looked somehow more precise than that of Nikolai Garkamenko, but not without any sense. He had 1 wheel outside the track somewhere, but it looked whole. It looked more integrated. And if a wheel is moving on the line, this means that the car is still within the track. Once the line is crossed, let's say that the marker for us is when the line is hidden underneath the wheel. Then we say that the borders of the track are broken. The pressure in these tires is pretty low. All the drivers try to keep the grip, so it works well and it works quite fine. And the judges will, of course, take it all into consideration. But this far, it looks quite a confident first run. Maybe it's not time for risking. Maybe we'll see some more risk later. And this is a very beautiful angle that gives us no idea how precise Anton Klimco was moving. And this is that white line. On one hand, the left rear wheel seemed to be sliding on it, but then I had a feeling that it slipped out. And I think that he could have got a 2-point deduction from the judges. But now we will understand it as soon as we see the score. That was a good run, generally, and this is the procedure that was allowed. Sometimes it is allowed to do some technical procedures. It can be allowed to swap the rear wheels in the tandem runs, and in the qualifying you're allowed to change the tires before the second run. It is also allowed to increase the time of hot pit. It used to be 1 minute, now it's 1 minute and a half, to ensure safety and to avoid traumatism of mechanics and the cars. Because when it's only 1 minute, sometimes some of the screws can be not properly tightened, and then it may get dangerous. We're still watching the replay of the run of Anton Klimco. There's quite a lot of steering out there. You could see that he was steering very actively in some points. Somewhere the angle was fluctuating to the right, to the left. From this angle you can see it very well how much extra work was being done. Also with the handbrake and the steering wheel, everything. Anton Klimco is, of course, very properly monitored by our judges, Maxim Akhtyamov, Anton Novikov and Vladimir Safonov. They are all current judges of RDS Europe and the judges of RDS GP. They know good drift and they know everything about them. They are very highly qualified and experienced enough to judge such drivers. And this is Evgeny Spirin waiting for his turn, and we greet him. He represents VS team. And we will see Alexei Vakhtin later. Oh, 35 for the line from Maxim Akhtyamov. This is the answer to my question. I was wrong. There was no mistake that I saw. This is a perfect result for a first run, and this is just the beginning. This is not the end. So I'm sure that we're going to see lots of other good ones. And now we're watching Evgeny Spirin, who is, together with his SX and LTA, number 54 is in all at 1. Initiation, a small correction immediately after. Then he decelerates and misses the first inner touch and go. Here it is very important to gain it, to get more and more and more of it, and then bring the car back to the right pace. He does it in transition to OZ4, and here he works very accurately, sliding on the white line. And finally OZ5, the final one, and this is the white line again. The white line means that you can stop drifting. This is the finishing line. Speaking simply, you can see the hood trembling, and Evgeny Spirin is not where he's supposed to be in the first turn. It's good that he managed to correct that mistake later. Evgeny Spirin has a very big experience of drifting at the Red Ring in different configurations, because he's a regular visitor here at the Siberian events in Novosibirsk hometown, and he was once a prize winner and a winner of some events, and here he also won in the team standings together with Sergei Kluzhny, who is his spotter. So finally one wheel was outside the track, and we can see it perfectly from the drone. And as far as the other things are concerned, the other zones, oh yeah, here he was a no-go zone. He had one wheel out there, so maybe it was the projection of the wheel. Maybe some part of the wheel was there. Projection of the wheel, it was a funny expression. From the drone we could see that after all the two, he was late with pressing the accelerator. But there is a reason why I noticed the projection. There, the car was standing on 3 wheels, and the right-left one was actually in the air. So understanding whether the car was on the line was very hard. You can only judge it by the shadow, because the wheel is on in the air. It is flying out there. So this is a funny task, and it was given to us by Evgeny Spirin. The judges will have to work it and study it and judge it to make their verdicts. And for the line and the other criteria, you can say that it's more the mathematical work. You see a fact, then you express it in numbers. And this is 31 for the line, nevertheless, which is quite a good result, and it makes a total of 79 points. He repeats the result of Nikolai Karkavenko. And now the continue of the process. Anatoly Scherbak will be responsible for that. Yesterday he had a very funny training, and it looked to me like he was rehearsing that task of the judges part by part. Some of his runs were basically initiations. Let's see whether he can collect it all and bring it all to one spot. This is an aggressive medium angle, and then he went to the transition 1 and 2, and this is the second outside clip, and some smoke appears. Not immediately, but still it's there. Another transition. He doesn't pay attention to the old touch and go. It is just there to confuse you. And Anatoly, this far, is working very well. He's sliding on the line and reaches the finish. It all started very interestingly from the very run-in. At first it looked like the car was going to the side. Yes, perhaps he was a little bit too humble with the angle from the very beginning. And here comes the question whether it can cause any deduction in the score, because the judge's task does require the drivers to show a big angle out there in the first outside clip. Then everything is done in the medium angle, so there should be no questions whatsoever. And just like everywhere where it's all required, all these dotted lines were complied with by Anatoly Scherbak. He pressed the gas diligently everywhere where he had to. You can see how his tire is squeezed when the accelerator is pressed, because the minimum pressure, I guess, is around 1 kilo. Even Ilya Fedorov yesterday told me that on his Evo Silvia, that is very far from the highest figures. He reduced the pressure to 0.8. And as for the speeds are concerned, almost the full range has been shown, from 140 of Evgeny Spirin, and Anatoly Scherbak was a little slower, 138.9. And as far as the angle is concerned, I was a little bit unfair and biased, because 57 degrees was in OZ1, which is quite a good start. This is the line, which is 55 degrees. And this is the border between the medium and a big angle. So he was closer to the big angle. Then he corrected it, and which is also not good because corrections after initiation is one of the most serious flaws that the driver can commit because it confuses the chaser, of course. And I think that the judges do not even have to write it separately in the judges' task because it is clear that you're not allowed to correct. 85 points is the score of Anatoly Scherbak for his first attempt. Okay, so in the current circumstances, it's not very bad, and the score was close to the maximum. And this is Anton Mytrienko. The car was built by Forward Auto, and here he begins his run-in. This is the home event for this car and as for all the other Siberians. And this is a very aggressive initiation. He gets the inner touch and go, even though in some places there were some doubts. And then he is late with the accelerator, but the line was quite okay. Then through another inner touch and go on the white line, throws it 4, increasing the angle. He is sliding in there, and then he hurries to the last transition nose at 5, and this is the finish. 148 kilometers per hour at the run-in was the initiation speed according to Drift Dynamics. And then there was a very good angle, and he pressed the gas on time. Everything was done correctly. The only thing is here in this spot you can see it well, that even though there is quite a lot of smoke in the rear, he was pulling the handbrake for too long, which caused him lose some speed and also miss one of the reference points, the dotted line. He couldn't press the gas on time, which of course will cause a certain deduction. It will cause a penalization of Anton Mytrienko. And as far as the angles and the styles are concerned, Anton is a very experienced driver. He has practiced a lot here. He spent a lot of time here, both in winter and in summer. And of course, all the Siberians spend time here. I wouldn't say that they have certain advantage here, but they feel at home here. They feel comfortable, they feel relaxed, and they feel at ease, maybe better than somewhere else. Because here they can train, here they can come anytime. Dmitry Dobrovolsky at the briefing said that he is tired of the Siberian guys flying under the traffic lights, and that this is the last time when we have the classic configuration at the Red Ring. I don't know whether he was just trolling them. Maybe he really does have some plans to change this paradigm. But the judges seem to be doubting about some details because they are asking for one replay after another, and here Anton Mytrienko worked very well at the no-go zone, very close to the no-go zone. He was a little bit too narrow at the exit from OZ2. Here that white line without any violations. And here also again he went around the no-go zone, and then he did transition and worked through OZ5. So the line looks very well. But we didn't even doubt that, because we knew that all these main penalizations will be coming from other criteria, like the transitions, the correctness, not necessarily the sharpness, but the correctness of the transitions is the jurisdiction of Anton Novikov, who is in charge for the angles. And he was the one who asked to change the position of the judges from the roof of the headquarters to the tower. And I also had a chance to visit that place, to get up the judges' tower, and it really brings an absolutely different view on everything. From there you can see it much better. Of course, from the roof of the headquarters it also looks fine, but once you look at it from a different side, then you see so many things that used to be concealed from you before. This is the judges' tent. This is in the service park. And everything is very compact here at the Red Ring circuit. Everything is very close. Oh, yes, sorry, not judges, the driver's tent. 90 points is the score of Anton Mytrienko. Very good. Perfect for the first run. Super. We are waiting to see some very strong competition. The maximum score that caused victory in the qualifying here was 97 points. This is what James Dean and Damir Yaturin got here before. And now Vladislav Shubadyorov, having missed the previous stage, he comes back, he feels healthy, he feels fine. This is the initiation that could have been sharper. And then I have a feeling that the car kind of slowed down before the inner touch and go. Then the run-in also wasn't very well. and everything is looking fine this time in the inner touch and go. And then with the rear wings, the Silver S15 is flying on in the last transition, and then the accelerated fifth just as required. Yesterday, Vladislav Shubadyarov told me that this is the first time he's trying to figure this track out, because it doesn't look like anything for him. There is something in between the common tracks of Rds Gp and the small tracks in Belarus, so it is very uncommon for him. He was trying to find the right reduction and suspension setups. He was trying to figure it out, because first you start the setting up in one way than another, and you're trying to understand what's better for you, and somewhere in these conditions you're trying to find the golden middle that fits you best. And to my mind, he didn't do everything properly. I can see that the driver doesn't feel very comfortable everywhere, and I also didn't see Alexei Vishnevsky. I wonder whether he is here or not. You could see that the front axle was trying to slip over, but it kind of happens here pretty often at this track, and I would say that Vladislav managed to keep it under control, and he took his attempt to the finish with some little details. And Maxim Akhtyamov, that I see him on the wireless, he has been asking for replays, because you could see at the replay that Vladislav crossed the OZ1 diagonally, which doesn't give him the opportunity to get the maximum point, because the OZ1 costs you 5 points for the line. The fourth zone is 6 points, but 5 points is also quite a lot. And this is 77 points for Vladislav Shubadyarov. Let us not say that this is victory, but this is not a failure. This is quite a normal score that takes Vladislav Shubadyarov to top 32 anyway. And this is the second run, Nikolai Garkovenko. He had 79 points in the first run, and now let's see what he can show us in the second. The light goes green, and there they begin. The F22 is running in and initiating. This is a good big angle, and here he finally reaches the first in a touch and go. Then he makes another transition, slides on in the cloud of smoke. He's accelerating through OZ3 to this smooth transition into OZ4. Once again, one wheel is slipping over, crossing the white line, and he goes around the no-go zone. And here he stays within the borders of the track as he is flying through OZ5 and finishes the run. This is a very decent one. I can't wait to see the score and to see this comparison, because it's very interesting how important the angle was at the initiation, whether he did cross the 95 degrees border. But recalling the last year, the last event here, when that was the famous backward challenge, sometimes what looks like a backward from the outside is not actually a backward. So sometimes 90 degrees look like 100 something, but this is the magic of the angle. Evgeny Losev even confused Drift Dynamics, and they couldn't retrieve the 130 degrees. Well, they did it, but not immediately. This is 86 points. But we know that there are other backward specialists here, and we can't wait for them to appear. But it will happen closer to the final of the qualifying. But this far I have this pleasant, nice feeling after the second run. I wouldn't bet that this is the improvement in score, but it feels like confidence. It smells confidence. It looks like after the first good run, Nikolai Garkovenko feels better and he feels more comfortable. And yesterday we told you that now he found the roots of the clutch problem, and now when it is solved, then it is working better. It could be one of the reasons that didn't allow him to open up. From this angle, he didn't really get the inner touch and go. And if the long OZ is 5 points, that inner touch and go costs 4, so the difference is not that big. So there is a big penalization in the run, but there is an improvement. It could have been much, much better. And we've got another driver who is coming up. In his first run, he set his personal record for the qualifying score, and he opened the 90-plus club doors. Another driver from St. Petersburg on board another F22. We told you everything about Genesis car, so let's wish Anton Klimco good luck and stay in the 90-plus club. And this is, oh no, too much steering, a very serious speed loss that he collects the second in a touch and go. But the speed was very wrong out there. He needs to get back to the track and restore the rhythm after the two bad sectors. Let's see whether Anton can do it or not. And the second part, he's doing quite well, and the finish is also pretty confident. Here it's very important to mention the speed. There is one official deceleration zone, and then the speed must be linearly, gradually decreasing to OZ2. And then after that, in OZ2, there is no deceleration whatsoever. But I think that Anton lost quite a lot of speed, and it will definitely influence the total score. I don't know the reason for such a sliding of the front axle. The speed is not that critical, it's not more than 145. But the reason for this incident, I guess, is that the car wasn't gaining the angle that sharply, and then he started playing with the steering wheel. He's losing confidence at a certain point, and it happens, and he set his personal record at the home circuit of Evgeny Losev, his coach. And here, even if there is no improvement, and I'm sure that there will be no improvement, 92.5 is something to be proud of. This is a good statement. This is not a top 4 result, I think. No natural disasters are being forecast. The asphalt will be warming up. But I don't really believe that 92.5 points is top 4 for this Autodrome. I will be happy to be mistaken, but I see that the correction was very, very bad after the initiation from 74 to 64 degrees, and then after the transition he corrected, and he didn't even have a medium angle. It was 41 degrees, and the score is not very good after this good and nice first attempt. It's on the 76. But he is still the leader of the qualifying with the result of 92.5. So this result guarantees the first place to Anton Klimco. Evgeny Spirin from VS team, after his first run of 79 points, is beginning his second one aboard his Nissan Silvia 780 SX. 170 meters of run-in, and then the initiation. He fixes a very good angle, but then he slips and misses the inner touch and go, which is bad in the second transition. And here he is not moving very fastly, and the exit is quite narrow. He tries to widen out the line, then he does a transition to OZ4 very smoothly and nicely, or staying within the borders of the track, and then the last transition and the last OZ. But yes, he is within the asphalt, but he does break the white line. The initiation speed was 139 kilometers per hour, and it looked like it was working fine, but he missed the inner touch and go. Perhaps the reason for this was the absence of not using the brake pedal properly. He failed to direct his car to the right curve, because to do it you need to hit the brake at a certain moment to get your car pulled in there. On the right-hand side, you can see OZ2, and the speed there was 45 kilometers per hour, which is critically low. Anton Klimco had 55. And secondly, the approximate mean value here is plus minus 50 kilometers per hour, generally. And it depends on the weather, of course. It depends on the pressure, whether it is correct or not. But let's get back to the speed issue. Why there is no proper deceleration zone before OZ2. It kind of has to be there. There's a line that Evgeny Spirin just crossed, where you are supposed to go full throttle. Everyone has his own idea of a full throttle in this area. Most importantly, it is not to let any deceleration OZ2, because it creates a lot of obstacles for the chaser. There is a big temptation to do it, but this is where the contacts can happen. There is no improvement. He's got 75.5. but at least he tried. And it was registered, and 79 is his best result. And this guy had 85. This is Anatoly Scherbak, Nissan Silvia S15, and he will try to improve his achievement with his attempt number 2 right now. And this is the spoiler that I told you about. It is now on the back of the car, and this is a very beautiful one. And initiation, and the front wheels were not in the no-go zone. This is not a very good line. Here the white silver and the white smokes are sliding through nose at 1, nose at 2, and then he is going just exactly as he's supposed to. He takes the inner touch and go. Too much angle out there in the last inner touch and go. And this is the last 5th OZ and the finish. I don't believe that there is an improvement. It was a creative interpretation of the judge's task in a way, and generally it began all very well. And then he hit the no-go zone, which he was not supposed to do. Then he stabilized and everything got back to normal. But in some places, braking and with the left foot is not very good. It's not the right thing to do. And also at 4, the most precious one was on the very edge. Out of these 3 stripes are there for the judges to understand when to give the maximum points. The second one is the maximum score for the line, and the third line marks the maximum of commitment score. And this is what Vladimir Safonov evaluates. He has a unique achievement. In 2011, he was a rookie, and his rookie year he became a champion. He was in the company with Georgy Chevchan and other respected guys. And as far as the car of Anatoly Scherbak is concerned, this is what I would point out. Anatoly Scherbak built Silvia S15 that is second to none. Very interesting solution. The ducktail plus that little spoiler that looks very unique and original. And this makes a total of 86. Wow! Yes, there is an improvement, a little one, but nevertheless, it is there. Just like the change in his Silvia's appearance. Anton Mytrienko is preparing for his second run. The first one wasn't very good, but he got 90 points. He is now second in the qualifying rating. And once again, Silvia S15, black color, is going off without a spoiler. This is a nice black suit, very elegant. Anton Mytrienko is inside, then he does a nice initiation. I'm sure there is a backward in the correction. Why? So sad that he collects the inner clip. Here is supposed to press it, and then, yes, really, he did decorate his car with white smoke, say bye-bye to the bumper. Then another transition toes at 4. Unfortunately, very narrow line. He's missing it completely. Now he just needs to take it to the finish just out of respect to the fans. And yes, the bumper came off in a very unexpected way. Perhaps there was some bump on the ground, and he caught that bump with the lower edge of his bumper. All the experienced drifters normally do not fix the body kit very, very hardly, because it should be all flexible. It should be easy to take off in such situations. I think it was just wrong from the very beginning. Even here, 110 degrees, so it was a backward. My water boils at 100 degrees. Well, it's a joke, of course, but after that, Anton made a very big correction, and the degree changed by 50 degrees. And I think this is the cause of all that. This is why it all went out of control. He was trying to demonstrate something spectacular, something beautiful, and the run was spectacular. It was. There was a backward, there were corrections, and the flying bumper and a lot of smoke, but the line wasn't very precise. Anton can say that he is an artist and he likes it this way. And when you have a 90+ result, why not experiment it? This is the only chance to get a little bit more scores, but it didn't really work well. Let me remind you that the backward there is allowed, but not more than 95 degrees. And now we switch to the drivers, to the area where drivers are coming back from their qualifiers. And Alicia is there. Does she have anyone to speak to? Of course, I've got the leader of the qualifying. This is Anton Klimco from St. Petersburg. First of all, we want to greet the people of Krasnoyarsk. Hello, guys. Anton, do you like it? How do you feel? To be serious, this is all Gotcha's pilav that he made yesterday. He charged me with his energy. And this is why I performed so well in my first run of the qualifying round. And the judges' task, the line, and all the clips are all very, very interesting, very well drawn. And if you do the right initiation, and if you shoot your car in the right vector, then it works all fine. What did you fail in the second run? This happened to me for the first time. I initiated, and then I wanted to make a little correction, but then I just got in the fourth gear mistakenly, and everything went wrong. Okay, things happen, just like leadership in the qualifying. Let's see who can move you off your podium. There are lots of strong drivers to shift me down. This is Anton Klimco, my friends, the leader of the qualifying. And now we are moving back to the qualifying. Thank you, Anton. Yes, it's nice that he confessed, explained everything. Anton Mytrienko also did everything himself, and this is his result. This is not a reason to be upset, as I see it, because he's got a 90 for the first run, so this is already okay. Only Vladislav Shubadyorov is left. He closes the qualifying in the first group, and he had 77 points for the first one. And I think that he would be very happy to improve this result. I'm sure that every driver is happy to improve it, even when you have 97 points. But once you have 77, you've got a lot of space, a lot to work on. And that is a lot of steering, and that attempt to collect the first inner touch played a bad joke with Vladislav Shubadyorov. He is already in the second OZ. He was entering narrowly, then he widened out through OZ 3, collected the another inner touch and go. Then he did a transition in OZ 4, bravo. And then there's the last inner touch and the last transition and the last fifth inner touch and go. I think that one rear wheel was outside. I would also remark this enormous shift that happened, that Vladislav Shubadyorov did in the first and the second run. And that is where he missed the inner touch and go. I think he just wasn't even trying to reach it. He was just trying to keep his car inside the track, just to keep it within. And this crazy inertia that he contributed was just too much. His speed was 136 kilometers per hour. It wasn't very impressive, but I think that this is some control issues in the first part of the track. Then he angled down too much, then he made a transition, and he wise-fabbed it. It was a fight of a man versus machine, and the man won it, but he was pretty much injured. I mean that he got a lot of deduction out of the initial 100 points. He couldn't take it to the finish, even though here he had all the chance. From another angle, you could see that the wheel was outside. Interestingly, in OZ 2, Vlad had an angle of 68 degrees, which is quite a lot, and the judge's task prescribes it to be medium. But interestingly, with this big angle, and regardless of that big angle, that speed wasn't lost, and it was pretty gradual as it was decreasing. So regardless of all the mistakes, he did it quite smoothly, and he's got 74 points. There is no improvement, but we all were watching very attentively, and we got what we wanted. We got the impressions that we wanted. And now Denis Sarakapud is coming up. He represents Lukoil Racing Drift Team. Yesterday he had to miss the first part of the training because his engine was being worked on. It had to be fixed because there were some technical problems. Then he decided to keep the engine safe, and then he did the same tactics that brought him victory at RDS in Kazan last year. Then he finally reached the inner touch and go, and he collects the second one. This is the second OZ, and here you got to accelerate and go faster, and then the chaser collects the inner touch and go. Here he's too narrow, the exit, and misses the white lines and the last touch and go. What an aggressive transition in OZ5, and the finish. It should be remarked that the strategy of Denis Saragaput is not very good. This is not 100 that he had in Kazan. This is far from 100, but it should be remarked that he had to do a lot of things to hit the inner touch and go, and also to continue moving along the track. And for someone who hardly even trained, and the Red Ring is a very popular training track, it was quite good. It wasn't bad, and it was quite decent. But there is still some space to grow. Let us hope that he does it. I hope he does it in one qualifying run. And finally, he is trying to make some corrections that can help him to fulfill the judge's task with more precision. He did make some little faults. The initiation wasn't very good. You could see all the mistakes, that a little innovation from last year when Denis wanted to. You can also see the changes in his number. He changed his number for 77 last year. Then he wanted to bring it back. But numerology is a funny science. We're waiting for the results of Denis. It was a nice and emotional run. And why I say that I take it more positively than negatively, it's because there was some sort of attitude, because the driver is not afraid of himself or his car. And now we can see that, we will speak about it later, the score. He had 80 points. Denis Saragaput has got 80 points, which is not a very bad result. And then coming back to the car of Denis Migal, this Lexus IS 760, and you could see in his reflection on his windshield how the car is vibrating with this big and powerful V8. The light goes green, and the driver of Synthetic Fresh Marketplace, through a little hesitation, makes a footy dash, then he does a transition, and he collects the first in touch and go. This is the first outside clip, and a lot of torque coming from this big and powerful engine through the inner touch and go. He slides into OZ4, unfortunately violating the borders of the track, and finally he flies into OZ5, and this is the finish. Everything is nice and controlled, but that was, well, that was dangerous. V8 on one hand gives you a lot of torque immediately, and it helps you not to use clutch sometimes. And it's great at tracks like Red Ring, where you have a run in, then deceleration, then acceleration again, and some technical details. And yesterday I also spoke to Denis after the first training session, and he said that the car does lack some speed and he needs to look for more resource. In the qualifying, this is not a very big problem, but in the tandem runs, it can really influence something. The initiation speed was 142 kilometers per hour, according to Drift Dynamics system, which is kind of a little bit lower than the average, below average, because we've got an average from 145 to 155. That is the average. Of course, there are some incredible exceptions and adventures when it gets over that, but it is all caused, first of all, by the long run in that was eliminated here. And moreover, the participants now have 12 meters that were trying to be taken away from them by the judges, but the drivers insisted. There was a big fight for these 12 meters, and finally it was resolved in favor of the drivers. The exit from OZ1 was quite big. The angle was pretty big, and Drift Dynamics, that is measuring the entrance angle, actually measured something like 47, which is very little. After the first transition, unfortunately, the angle wasn't very big, only 38 degrees, but then Denis got in the OZ, and then his speed at the entrance was pretty high, but then it fell, it dropped, and it dropped below 50 kilometers per hour. And it happened at the exit, and it makes a total of 88 points for the first run. This is perfect for the first run, especially. And sure, we could see some inaccuracies that can give Denis a chance to improve his result. Here comes Leonid Schneider from Krasnoyarsk, time up Toyota Mark II JZX90. Leonid started his drifting career here, and he was also driving a Mark II. And now he's missing the touch and go, and he is missing the second one. The second transition, also 2, the white smoke is coming, he is running to also 3, and then everything is a little wider, more interesting, more aggressive, and then he narrows down again and also 4. I don't know who he is leaving all that space for, and then the finish. This is the time for the judges to think. There are things to deduct, unfortunately. This is symbolic that yesterday Leonid Schneider had some tandem runs with Denis Migal, and now they are also following one another in the qualifying. Interestingly, Leonid Schneider really loves a JZX90 platform. This is one of his favorites, and it feels like home for him, even though he started here at the Red Ring with another car, VAZ 2105, with a JZ on board that he built himself in his own garage. And Time Up team still has that vehicle, and the engineers are trying to get rid of that car no matter what it takes, but Leonid wants to keep it because he says that these were his first runs of drifting, these were his first steps, and he wants to keep it. But sooner or later, when he has to organize his own museum, he will exhibit that VAZ, perhaps. And then he had to take the 90, and then through via Silvia's 15, he came back to his favorite platform. It is quite hard to find the bodies for such cars, but Time Up team is very good at it. They've got a big drifting laboratory. They just brought another new Supra to the stage, and they're also preparing to build another Supra, and then BMW 42 is also in their plans. So they're experimenting a lot. And why I'm saying all that, it's because I have a feeling, and perhaps I'm wrong, but this is what I feel, that JZX90 doesn't allow to unleash all the potential of Leonid. There is still something to release. Sometimes I think that the turnout of the front suspension is not enough, and it's holding him back. And if we had a time machine, if we went 1 year before to 2022, then by that point of the season last year, Leonid Schneider had already had a collection of podiums that he got on board Silvia's 15 with Forward Auto team. Yes, on one hand, you can say that as far as the sports performance is concerned, he is not doing that good on board the Mark, but it's all up to the driver, how to begin his path and how to proceed. Definitely this is not his last season for Leonid. 77 points is the result of Leonid, so we see this combination of figures quite a lot today. And now Lyapapov from Fail Crew Dark Side is coming. On board his car, this is Nissan 370Z, and these crazy numbers that illustrate the potence of the engine, 179, extreme precision in the technical specification of the car. But now this says OZ1. He did collect the inner clip, but it was quite expensive for Lyapapov. OZ2, and everything happens on time, and he is decreasing the angle a little bit. We'll see it later on the graphics. Now it's time to make a transition to OZ4, and he does it quite sharply, but the line is too narrow. It looks like he didn't hit the right pressure of the tires, and this is the result. This is not a 0, but there is also some food for thought. The Red Ring circuit is the only autodrome of Rds Grand Prix where the Popov brothers have been previously. But here, they came here for a winter event. They know this place. So as far as the just the feelings are concerned, they know the area, they know everything, but they haven't drifted here in summer. The Popov brothers are doing quite well with everything, but I think that this attempt is not super good. I think that there is nothing to be proud of, because yesterday during the practice he also did better, but I'm happy to see that this is not a zero. I'm happy to see that he's doing great, because at ADM Raceway he couldn't show himself such well. He had technical problem, and now the car has got a new engine, and it was interesting to watch the rookies getting used to this track. This is not actually their rookie event here, but yeah, almost, because it is quite a torturing process while you are getting used to a new track, and you have to do something, because the qualifying is today, the rest of the event is tomorrow, and of course I know that it does make you nervous, especially when you're 20 years old. You are so young and so hot, and we spoke about it with Nikita Shikov, and he said that all these young guys, well, can I call them young guys, because Nikita Shikov is a veteran, all these young guys, due to the absence of some background, are missing something, but they don't have the borders that don't let them unleash. And the score is quite well, 87. This is very good for the first run, and 90 is very close, and there's also an opportunity to get it somewhere. Now we've got a health group, I think, and it consists of one participant, and this is Nikita Shikov. This is what I heard on the radio. Okay, let's hope that everything runs well. And now Stepan Azarov from Auto Profi team. Another Z, this is number 15. And wow, you could see how it bent under the wind, missing the first inner clip. Stepan Azarov is collecting the second inner clip, and then he flies into OZ2. A little bit too narrow in the line. He's got to widen up, but he is failing. And then another sharp transition OZ4. He's got to collect the last inner clip, and then he gets the last OZ5, which happens. Stepan Azarov is leaving some space for the second run. Yesterday, the spotter of Stepan Azarov, Alexander Andreev, called him Stepan the aggressor. And he did show us the aggression today, and the inner touch and go is not even for us. This is for the weak. Thanks, Stepan Azarov. Who needs those 4 points? This is nothing. I can get more than that. I can just enjoy. And this is what it says. This is what Stepan Azarov does here. And this is a nice and native transition. He is a friend of Nikita Shikov. They are teammates. And Nikita Shikov has been to many teams before. I think he has been to all of them. It's easier to count where he hasn't been. Perhaps only Fail Crew, or has he been there before when he and Arkady Tseregradzev were there at ADM Raceway in the finals. But back then, you could also go to another team in the middle of the season. And now you can see he was turning very sharply. This is the Weissfab thing. And the Z's. And as far as the run is concerned, generally in some points, it looked like Stepan was about to do something, like a transition to OZ4, and the car will go to the inner line. But generally, this car has quite a big angle to move on. And I know that it may be not going too deeply, but he remains within the borders of that OZ4. So purely visually, to my mind, and I have a lot of experience of watching drifting, he is defying some physics laws. Okay, he's got 83 points, and he didn't get enough for the angle. And this is the final result. Not very bad, very good beginning. And now we're going to see the second run of the second drift. This is Denis Starakaput and his chaser number 77. Regardless the arithmetics on his windshield, and he continues. This is a very sharp counter shift, like he's about to make a turn, but then he fixes quite a big angle, and then he is covering the first inner clip. Then he works through the second and screws into the second OZ. Then he decreases the angle and makes a big correction. We'll see the figures later. Then he makes a transition in OZ4, and then nevertheless he does it well. He adds more angle before the last inner clip and makes a transition OZ5. In zone number 4, Denis Starakaput did the thing that Stepan Azarov couldn't do, even though it looked very similar. Here is the difference in the platforms. You can see how strong the Toyota Chaser is. You can see how much it is different, how much it wants to go deeper, how much it wants to go wider. You know how beautifully the Z is sliding, how much grip there is on the front axle by FAB suspension. And this is its main key specificity. It gives you a lot of grip just because of the contact spot, which is very big. And for Toyota Chaser and its suspension that is here on the car of Denis Sarakaput, it all works a little differently. And the car is harder to push inside, which is sometimes good, but sometimes it can cause you quite a lot of problems. And then in some moments they have to sacrifice the angle to keep the line wide. And then as soon as you add more, the car shifts inwards. And here there was a big correction and also 3. But now let's switch to Alicia. She's got someone to talk to. Denis says, well, it's not very good. Safonov, where is my style score? I don't know, maybe Safonov has something to tell you. I don't know what to do. I'm pressing the pedal through. At the initiation, I shifted too much inward. Perhaps this is what I did wrong. And generally, well, it was quite okay. I loved it. Do you think you should expect an improvement? For the first run, you had 80. You know, I'm sure, because in the first run, the transitions were all done through the brake and through the hand brake. I was kind of afraid, but now I did well. I did it better with the gas. Denis Sarakaput from Lukoil Racing Drift Team with the round of your applause. That was a big correction. I was looking at the drift dynamics. He dropped the angle to 28 degrees, but he's got 38. Wow. So now he's got an improvement. He's got an improvement to 88 points. It could have been a 90 plus. But then the question addressed to Vladimir Safonov is answered. He's got all the score for the style. He's got 88 points. And the driver number 70 got to 77 for the first run. And this is Leonid Schneider that I'm talking about. He's going to get the second run. Wow. And you can see how Mark II is beginning. Oh, wow. This is the initiation that we like. This is the line that we like through 2 inner clips. And then carefully, he's entering the OZ2 through OZ3 and the inner touch and go. And he runs to the most expensive clipping zone. And the line was finally brought to the required. Generally, he is doing very well. And I have the attempt that I have a feeling that there is something wrong with the tires, because it looks like he managed to harmonize only in the second run. In the first one, he did lack some of the harmony. But finally, it worked the way it should have. And now we're waiting for the score that is coming up. And to my mind, this is going to be a good improvement. The initiation was very nice, very sharp and aggressive, with big and powerful counter shift and no corrections after, and a nice, precise touch and go, and without any serious losses, without any serious manipulations with the car. He didn't really decelerate too much. He didn't really change the angle too much. He just did it all very smoothly and thoroughly, got the first touch and go and then another touch and go. And all the attempt, the entire attempt of Leonid Schneider was nice and smooth and high quality with nice and good angles. This is what we expected. Quite a lot of fluidity that was there. It sounds like weather forecast, a lot of fluidity. And now we switch back to Alicia. Leonid Schneider should be content with his attempt. This is what we've been expecting. Is it right? Is this what we wanted to see? Are you happy? What did you expect from yourself on the victory? Do you think you could win the qualifying? I don't think so, but I think that I've got 90 plus. I think it was quite well. What does it feel like to be at home? It feels great, amazing. Finally, I'm here on board with my car. Everything runs just as I want it. Okay, so this is your very responsible task, to give energy to your drivers and to the fans. We'll see whether it's a 90 plus or not, but what didn't you do properly according to your feelings? I tried to squeeze everything I could from this car, and plus or minus, I got everything. So do you think it can be 100? Well, who knows? Perhaps. I know I did have some little mistakes. So together with you, we're waiting for the result from our judges. This is our second group. Very nice runs, but this is Rds Gp. Every run here is amazing. We're waiting for the results of Leonid Schneider. This is your compatriot, guys. Maxim Akhtyamov wants another replay of Leonid Schneider's run. We all wouldn't mind to see it. This is the kind of runs that you want to watch over and over again, even though this phrase that Leonid said, that he did have some mistakes, it does actually... it is actually right. Let us not wear the pink glasses, but everything was very energetic and nice, with very good mood. Now we're drifting laboratory. We've got the drifting academy, and we are watching our judges, and now we're watching the replay, and it feels nice to see Leonid Schneider, who is very content with his run, obviously. On one hand, a little bit too narrow, maybe. On another hand, he looks quite fine out there. And now the judges will... it was Vladimir Safonov who requested for a replay. Maybe there are some stylistic issues. Some questions about style he's got. So, as far as I can see, the judges have reached some concord. Hello, everyone. So when the judges are watching everything attentively like that, it can mean two things. Either everything is very good or everything is very bad. And there is another third option, that they want an OMT or they don't want an OMT. But in the qualifying, an OMT is not possible because this is the qualifying. And here, my gut tells me that in this situation, everything was very good. And I remind you that 97 points is the maximum that anyone has ever got here in the qualifying. And this is 95. We've got a new qualifying leader. This is Leonid Schneider. So 90 plus, we didn't have any doubts. Sometimes judges can also surprise us, but it's very close to the maximum, both line-wise and angle-wise. I think Maxim Akhtyamov took something for the entrance to OZ4. Now it's time for improvement. Maybe this guy can do it. Ilya Popov, number 22, fail crew dark side. And this is a run and time to initiate. Narrow again, unfortunately, through the inner clip, and then through the second one, and then another transition to OZ2, and then you press the gas and gas and gas. Line-wise is quite well here, and here he also collects the touch and go, if I'm not mistaken. OZ4 is left behind, and quite a lot of angle as he goes to the inner clip, and he did take it there. Well done, but one wheel outside shouldn't have been there. But now it would be interesting to see it in comparison with the run of Stepan Nazarov, to see how similar these two cars are in their concept. They are similar, both 370Z, 2JZ, and YSFUB, and at the same time, it is quite specific. And they are also built with by the same hands, by the same people. And these cars are pretty specific, and they love big angles. And they don't shift inside the turn, they go along the curve. This is a very interesting property of the car. It's interesting to see what was with the angle out there. I don't see it this far, but I would be very interested to see, because I had a feeling that it wasn't a backward, but it was something close. And this right to increase the angle also at 4 that was given to the drivers by the judges was actually now used by Ilya Popov. The second part of this run made me forget his initiation. Of course, the judges remember everything, so let us not be surprised if the score is not very hard. But it was a very nice degree. It was 74 points. It was amazing. And that 74 degrees have been there until the very transition. Yes, unfortunately, the line wasn't perfect, but the angle was really cool, and the speed was also maintained. But this is a traditional correction, also 3, that many drivers do. On one hand, we notice that it is there, but on the other, it kind of doesn't really change anything. But we're still waiting for the score now. Let's switch to Alicia. For the first time here in Krasnoyarsk, Ilya Popov from Fail Crew Dark Side. You must give him a big round of applause, because he is here for the first time. The first run for 87 points was quite good. But what do you think? Which one was better? What did you do better? What did you do not so well? And how did you correct it in the second run? In the first run, I narrowed it too much. In the second run, I decided to take it into account. I loved my second run more than the first. I haven't seen it from outside, but I think that I was in the no-go zone at the initiation, so I'm not sure. Just in case you didn't hear, he said that he liked his second run more than his first. And let's see what the judges decide, whether they like the second run better than the first. The score is ready. Let's see it. Let's see it all together. 31, 32, and 25. And this is a total of 88. And this is a little improvement, and this is very good. Ilya is right, and he had a better mood in the second run. But there is no such a criterion. There is style, but there is no mood in the scoring. But in OZ2, I wonder whether the drivers can see themselves on the screen which is out there. Maybe check their hair, check their nails. Because on onboards, you can see that they do. This is the Smigal, Syntec Fresh Market Place. And this monstrous Lexus with V8 engine is flying by the first in the clip. Then he takes the second one, he makes a transition. And then he goes through also 2, also 3, and then he is finally there in the touch and go. Then another transition according to the task. Not very fast, but it's not a mistake this time. And the last transition to also 5. Nice and smoky curve, but once again I have a feeling that he wasn't in the right place. Let's watch and compare. The first thing that is different in the two runs is that Denis Migal went with his headlights on, and then he went with headlights off. Maybe this factor changes the behavior of his car, maybe less load on the generator, but of course I'm kidding. It doesn't change a thing. But what does change things is the number of these little mistakes. And here these two attempts are very similar. In the second run, I don't know how many he had. He allowed himself to take these 4 points from the line. It could open him the doors to 90+ club, and we can just mentally add 4 points and we get 92, which is already very well. Why we pay so much attention to the first in touch and go is because this thing is often determining different things, like it was last year in the final, when missing the first touch and go caused the defeat of Damir Diatulin. But now we are switching to Alicia. She's got someone to talk to, and perhaps this is Denis Migal. My friends, we just saw Denis's run, and he saw it as well, and he could now see that he missed one zone. How does your car behave? What do you feel? I feel great. I'm a little upset because of that inner clip, but I hope that the judges are good to me. They saw my aggression. I really wanted to show some good score. I did everything I could. The car is working great. I'm enjoying. I'm having such a good time. Is your entire team ready to fight? Our team is always ready to fight. What about your cars as well? Okay, great. This is Denis Migal, Syntec Fresh Market Place. I wish you all good luck. Good luck, Denis. I think that the judges are still discussing, So we're waiting for the result together. 88 points was the result for the first run, which is already good. And this is the second. Yes, it's quite far away from the maximum, so there is no improvement. But the aggression we could see, and we loved it. Most importantly, this run is not a zero, even though Denis Smygal expected something better. And it is quite cool for tandem drifting. Out of all the touch and goes, this first one is the most precious one. It goes to 4 points, and then they're getting cheaper, 3, 2, and 1. And this is why the judges emphasize the importance of this element. Stepan Azarov for the Profi initiation, and he almost spins around, and he goes through the first touch and go. Then he widens out the line and also 2, and he's running to also 3, and then via the inner touch, and he does a transition. Looks quite well, sharply from one angle to another, even sharper than required. The last touch and go is left behind, and this is quite a good line, pretty sufficient for getting the 4 points that he lost now at 5. Let's do some comparative analysis. The first attempt was more aggressive at the initiation. The second was a little bit more careful. Here in the first run, he missed the inner touch and go. In the second one, he went through touch and through the no-go zone, but he didn't take it. And no-go zone is actually the border of the track for the leader. And inside touch and go costs 4 points. So Denis Smygal Stepan Azarov still gets some profit. And the second run looked more careful. It looked more clear and more precise in all the elements. Yes, he had one wheel outside in the no-go zone. The angles are really big, very hard fall, very, very big. But we know that his Z is very good at medium angles. He has just demonstrated it in the OZ number 3. Yeah, here. And also here we can see that he got where the wheel is not supposed to go. There is a no-go zone, minus 2 more points, and now we switch to Alisha. Every time the drivers come up to me, I feel like their mood is just impossible to ruin. You look so happy here in Krasnoyarsk. So I think that you can get anything, no matter how hard it is. It's still a little bit easier here. This is the favorite track for many drivers. We all love this initiation. We all love this configuration, so much adrenaline. Plus, the weather is great. And I also noticed that every year we've got very good audience here. You are so responsive. Yes, here they are. Which of the runs did you like more, the first or the second? If I put them all together, I would do something different. But generally, emotionally, I like the second one more. I made some little mistakes, but my second one was better. I think that the judges agree with you, because I can see that they are watching replays of your runs. This is Stepan Azarov from Auto Profi team. Auto Profi team prepared something interesting for you. You can take a walk to their tent. Yes, we've got a new category of toys. You can come and take our toys. Our cars are available in our tent. We are waiting for your scores. I hope that you still have this great mood to the end of the day. There is nothing that can ruin it. Great, don't forget to go to the scales. So this is Stepan Azarov. Once again, he's with you. You can see how well he feels. He is happy. And you see how he's driving towards the scales. Looks like he almost forgot. Stepan Azarov is a big foodie. He loves the Siberian cuisine, the northern fish, and he likes all the local foods that are available here. He loves good food and good restaurants. Max Grossman, another regular here. He's also a winner of one of the winter drift battles. And he's the winner of the previous season. And Stepan Azarov has got 87. Yes, he's got some improvement. There was a strange story in the first sector, I mean the first and the second. And this is what I wanted to point out, but we had to give the floor to the driver. It would be very hard to chase Stepan because there was a lot of aggression. Okay, so let's see what Maxim Grossman can show us, and his Toyota Mark II wearing the colors of Time Up Team. Let's go, the run in, and finally this is the transition, and he's turning carefully, getting a big angle, collecting 2 touch and goes, and he does the transition. Are you gonna press it? Yes, but a little late. And then with not the best angle possible, he's sliding through rows at 3, and here it is just as required, very close to the white line with no go zone. You need to figure it out better than those at 5 and the finish. This is a nice saving run. Everyone expected some fireworks from Maxim Grossman because he's got the reputation. We know how he showed himself previously, also here at the Red Ring. Max Grossman is, he has performed here many times, back on his Mark 81 in some 2013 or 14. I remember him. I remember that I was quite angry at him because he was going too much inward when he was a chaser, and it caused a big contact with Mitir Mohin. So Maxim Grossman always stands out with his precision and carefulness and emotionality at the same time. But anyway, he is now doing better and accurately and precisely, which is very good. And there was still no go zone, okay. We noticed it in touch and go number 4. But this is just 2 points. Better like this than ignoring the 4th inside touch and go, because it costs 3 points. Maxim Grossman is doing his 2nd official event at the Red Ring in Rds Gp. In 2019, he appeared for a moment, but back then many Siberians did so, but it wasn't very good for both of them. And Maxim Grossman was doing well. He was 12th in the qualifying, and he was 8th in the personal standings. So I think that this is a good asset. Max is a very talented driver. No one has ever doubted it. And many Siberians, just like him, also appeared in the Rds Gp for one event last year. We've got some important information from our official sponsor, Premium Motor Oil Manufacturer IMOL Company. They're running a competition. On Saturday, try to guess the name of the winner of the qualifying and win some great prizes. The winners will be those who gave the right answers the first. 3 people on Saturday and 3 people on Sunday. Read more details on the social media of IMOL. You need to submit your answers before 1 p.m. Now it's 11:27, so you've got 1 hour and a half to file your answers. So hurry up. This is Timofey Dobrovolsky, Takayama Forward Auto. Not very good weather. Timofey said that he also loved driving under the rain in karting, and then he shifted these skills to drifting, to the drifting reality. 148 was his initiation speed, and this is 92.5, and this is his first run only. This is a perfect result, Maxim. Congratulations. And now we can't wait to see what happens in the second one. And here comes Timofey Dobrovolsky. Run number 1, Takayama Ford Auto, his Silvia's 15, which was born here in Krasnoyarsk. And he's running in, and the initiation without corrections through the inner touch and go. And the second one, and now he's doing very well. Timofey Dobrovolsky is doing perfect. O's at 2, O's at 3, then he slightly decreased the angle as it made a transition to O's at 4, and it was a little bit too narrow, and he is approaching the last inside touch and go. And then on the 3 wheels, he's working through O's at 5, and here is the finish. There is one more property of the suspension of Takayama Forward Auto vehicles. And now, as we are watching the replay, we can study it. here in this spot, please notice that Timofey Dobrovolsky is working with his steering wheel, but the car body is not moving. This is how it works because there is no grip on the front axle. There is not too much grip. The front wheels are sliding and it doesn't react too much to the steering wheel moves. On one hand, it is an advantage. On another, there is less information that you get. It's less informative steering wheel, and it is very hard to adjust to this style. Timofey Dobrovolsky did quite well in the first part of the judge's task, but starting from the OZ4, he is getting a little bit worse. It was a little too narrow in OZ4, then he angled it into touch and go, which he should have done, and in OZ5 the line was also too narrow. So the improvement is very vague and very mixed impression. The first sector was very good, the first sector E. It was a very beautiful line that illustrates the speed from the maximum at the initiation, which was around 147, to the entrance in OZ2, it was 57. And then, without deceleration, it is absolutely straight until he left OZ2, because the car, by the inertia, is trying to slow down, but the driver is pressing the gas, preventing this process, and keeps the car stable and then accelerates. This is exactly what Timofey did. This is a nice and correct line without any fluctuations. The correction also 3 was there, and the angle decreased to 49 degrees, but he didn't cross the border of the medium angle. So regardless of the deceleration and little drifting angle, I don't think that the penalization will be very strict, but look at the stance. We could also see the rear suspension in action, because previously it looked like it should be very hard. But no, it's not. It is some very serious stroke, and it can spring up and spring down very seriously. And I saw on the internet Kichisuchiya driving a modernly built car where he didn't understand what to do with it. And he said, we used to keep all the grip on the front and letting the rear axle slip. And now you've got to press gas all the time. And the grandfather of drifting, the main old man of the drifting, just failed it. And this is how it works. The times change, the reality changes. This is the same in circuit racing, by the way. There was a conviction that everything has to be very hard, but no, everything changed. And later, the athletes understood that the suspension needs to be softer. And the result of Timofey Dobrovolsky is 89 points, and we could see it all. We could see what could be improved in some places to hop into that desired 90-plus zone. Auto Profit team and 4-time winner of Rds East, Ilya Fedorov, on board his Silvia's 15. He's got a victory, well, only this track, but under the rain, and a different championship as well. Ilya Fedorov is doing his initiation, and finally he's here. The king of lines is carefully collecting one OZ after another, 2 inner touch and goes. Then he reduces the angle in OZ3. Then he adds a little bit more, then he collects the inner touch. Oh, I think I overpraised him. And then finally to use that ground hill that was made there for drivers to push off from. But well, it's better to have 2 wheels outside than -6 or minus your car body like Evgeny Losov did. Yes, that is true. This is a very nice line that was absolutely perfect. That is Ilya Fedorov's style. And now this is an OZ4. In OZ4 it's not very good, and he has 2 wheels outside, which is -5 points, definitely. It should be remarked that this is one of the very few tracks that is good for Eva Silvia, so that it has enough power and reduction. And he also reduced the pressure in the tires to 0.8 at some point, very generously. his Eva Silvia feels very well here. But the driver is making some little mistakes. We're waiting for the score, and we will give you all the details as soon as we've got them. And now Nikita Shikov, he wanted to go to the health group. Unfortunately, he has a handbrake problem. The cylinder, there is no capacity at all, and the team is trying to do something with it. But I think that since they detected the problem, this time that we've got, it should be quite enough for Nikita Shikov to get it fixed. There are 3 more groups yet to come, and I'm sure that Groza will be doing very well. Now Nikita Shikov still has 1 run. This is a self-safe session. I know that Nikita can do it perfectly. I just hope that his car works fine. The mechanics of Takaiba Forward Auto do not show anything with their faces. I think they could make very good poker players. And Timofey is looking into his phone. He's watching the replay of his run. Yesterday, at the end of the day, they all looked very puzzled with the spark plugs in their hands because something was going wrong. But now I can see that the car is running. It's okay. Now, Ilya Fyodorov, his initiation speed wasn't incredible. It was 133 kilometers per hour. Almost an anti-record, and 67 degrees. This is 81 points that he's got for the first attempt. He is already in top 32 anyway. We know that Ilya can do it better. Everyone knows it. And we will be waiting for the next appearance. And now, Damir Diatulin with a replaced engine. He didn't have any trainings yesterday, but I don't think he really does it. Only just to learn more about his new platform. This Supra A80 has already passed the 2 inner touch and goes, and this is OZ 2, and then he accelerates through OZ 3, collects the inside touch and go, transition to OZ 4, very careful without extra aggression, and then he is running to OZ 5. Of course, this is a nice and productive finish, and now we can only enjoy the replay and wait for the score. It was something close to perfection. Everything is very precise. No many corrections whatsoever. Perhaps if you go deep to drift dynamics, you can see some little mistakes. But to my mind, I think that it looked very decent. It was quite a big counter shift that didn't cause any deceleration, because sometimes there is a counter shift and sometimes it causes a wrong initiation. But Damir Diatulin is doing it very well. Quite nice and aggressive counter shift on the left wheel so that it jumps to the right later. This is quite an effective way of making your car rotate. And also he didn't overdo it with the angle. And then very carefully he got more, just like it was prescribed by the judges. You could see that Damir Diatulin is really enjoying this car. This is Toyota Supra 2JZ A80, no matter how it looks. Not the fastest running ever, 137 kilometers per hour. And if we speak about drift dynamics, then at the exit from OZ 3, Damir added some more angle. And this is what he shouldn't have done. Let's see whether there is any penalization for this. And in this judge's manual, it says it very clearly that adding angle after OZ3, if there is also some speed loss, is not allowed, and this is a mistake. I'm trying to see whether there is any speed loss, and I can see some there, from 86 to like 80 kilometers per hour. It is not very little, because 6 kilometers per hour is quite tangible. And if the judges are guided by the same manual, and if they apply it, then I think that some of the style points can be deducted. So we will see the results very soon, and we can check this hypothesis. Vladislav Popov from Failed to Dark Side is already there. And I'm already imagining this manual that the judges take, this manual, and they do like checklists on board a plane. Effective run-in, check. Then OZ1, check. Well, this looks like a procedure. Well, why not? It looks fun. But I think that in any sport, judgment is a sort of procedure, and it does have a certain checklist. In drifting now, there is less creativity and more of a procedure, because all these procedures need to be clear. The clearer they are, the better the sport is taken. And this is almost maximum for the angle and not the maximum for the style, 94.5. Half a point was not enough to stand next to Leonid Schneider, but Damir Yatulin has another run to do. 94.5 is super cool, no questions. But let me repeat it, but Schneider was slightly better. Now Vladislav Popov from Failed to Dark Side and his 350Z. He is now doing the initiation and is sliding very sharply. He misses the inside touch and go on the second one as well. And then the second was set. And once again, there is some space between the wheels and the board of the track. And the board of the track, the space was quite good. Almost perfect as he adds more angle near the last touch and go. And through OZ5, he slides to the finish. The drivers kind of mirror themselves. Some of them do better in the first part of the track, and the others do better in the second. For example, Vladislav Popov was great in the second, but the first wasn't very good. Maybe he just pulled himself together after the middle of the track was passed. But it should be also remarked that starting from nearly second OZ, it all went better for him and it went the way he wanted, obviously. But the main mistakes are the inner touch and go, which are not very big in area, but quite visible as far as the points are concerned. The inner touch and go number 1 is 4 points. So this is the same as OZ3. And OZ3 is much bigger. And OZ2 is also 4 points. So there is nothing surprising that the judges evaluated this way. But again, once again, if we compare the second part of the score section of the track with the first one, then we should recognize that the second is slightly easier. Because in the first one, in a very small area, we've got 2 transition and 4 clipping points, plus all those lines and no-go zones and all other stuff that you should keep in mind. But if you think about them all the time, I don't think you can get anywhere, because you will be always thinking, oh, I like this butterfly. It is great. I think it will go to the golden annals of our videos. Yes, they say that autosport is bad for nature because there's a lot of emissions and pollution, but they're butterflies and they love it. There's something that you cannot kill, and this is nature. Dear environmentalists, watch us, see how friendly we are with the environment. RDS in union with the nature. The most organic kind of sport. Grigory Gusev, in the meanwhile, is here. He continues telling us that he doesn't like a BMW, but we love him driving a BMW. And in this structure, and I think he is doing well, balancing his car, and he is doing great. But Grigory Gusev, in fact, is more stable on board his E92. There are some interesting situations. Okay, we will tell you about it later. Now, Vladislav Popov, and this is 81.5, which is quite good for the first run. But let us not forget that this is a rookie of this season, because winter drifting is cool, but this is a different reality. Grigory Gusev, as he experimented with his setups and his own style during the trainings, sometimes he would get himself in very difficult situations, but then he would get out easily, which means that his car is very responsive. And now a nice and aggressive initiation, and in a cloud of smoke he is driving through on the line, and he passes the both inner clips. And then, even though he looks a little bit slow, I think that he complies with the judge's task. And then he turns his ED92 around, and then from one angle to another. This is great. The car is very long. Even the chaser looks smaller.
Сочи, конечно, сразу ассоциация с какой-то опасностью.
Дамир имел все карты на руках, и нужно было ехать на победу.
Это нужно смотреть, это нужно видеть.
Мы все просто молились.
Это автоспорт, детка. Здесь случается все, что угодно.
Все решится прямо сейчас.
Если радио то максимум.
Главный чемпионат страны по дрифту возвращается на автодром Moscow Raceway. 2 и 3 сентября 2023 года. Не пропустите новые захватывающие заезды. Смотрите обзор 6-го этапа Rds Gp 2023 года в эфире телеканала Авто Плюс.
РДС Европа в Санкт-Петербурге. Впервые на автодроме Игора Драйв. 5 и 6 августа. 4-й этап РДС Европа состоится в рамках большого фестиваля скорости и музыки Гараж Фест Игора Драйв. Подробности на сайте rdseurope.ru.
And we are back on air. We got over the technical problems, and this is the result of Grigory Gusev, almost maximum for the angle, and this is 95 points. And he repeats the best performance of Leonid Schneider. And now we have a question. Who will become the leader of the qualifying? Leonid Schneider has a worst attempt of 87 points, and now Grigory Gusev just needs to cover this 87, make it better, and then he will be the leader of the qualifying. But we also have Maxim Grossman, who had 92.5, and he also has a chance, just like all the others, of course, and it's nice to have some intensive competition. Maxim Grossman is working through the first in a clip, and he's cruising to also 2, and here he is gaining momentum as he is sliding through the touch and go, and then the transition to the most precious touch and go 4. Then he's got to get the last element, And 1:05 is left, and Maxim Grossman finishes his qualifying. It was a nice and confident attempt, but I would call it very academic, pragmatic, and as though we were watching the same run over again. In the first run, the angle was a little bigger, and then as far as all the rest is concerned, they are very, very similar, almost the same. The transitions are the same in the line, but in the second run, like my subjective feeling says me, like there was a little bit less of angle, but all the rest was absolutely the same. That's the blueprint. But why would be surprised? Because he's got a crazy experience. He knows everything about this track. And his yesterday's runs also show that Maxim is very fit today. And of course, we can't wait to see the Siberians and the guests of this region, only the best runs. You can see the mood of everyone, regardless of the region. I also remind you that Grigory Gusev here at the Red Ring, also he joined our Rds Gp for the first time here at the Red Ring. It was one single arrival, one single participation, and he got to top 4 right away, which was very cool. And now let's switch to Alisha. My friends, for the first time, you can see Max Grossman as a driver of Russian Drift Series Grand Prix. This guy from Irkutsk knows good drift. He has become the best spotter many times, and now finally he spotters himself from in the inside of his car. Max, this was a great run. What do you feel? I need to improve some places, but I would like to greet everyone. You're so cool. My car is fit. I'm getting used, and I'm sure that everything will be good, and it will be getting better and better. Siberia, Siberia, the audience cries out. Siberian drifting is the best, isn't it? Yes, I'm sure it's the best on the planet and in the universe. Okay, let it be so. Are you expecting any improvement? I hope so. Okay, so let's see what the judges have to say. We're waiting for your decision together with Maxim Grossman and all of our audience here. The scores are ready, so let's watch. And together with you, oh wow, 35 for the line, 33 for the angle, and this is 94, 94. But why 94? Just one more point to make it 95. Judges, gentlemen, wow, you don't understand anything in the dramaturgy. Okay, whatever. We have some time. We've got more candidates. We've got enough of them. 89 points was the result of Timofey Dobrovolsky for the first run. This is the home stage for this team, and this is the second run for Timofey Dobrovolsky. Furidashi, oh wow, that is so beautiful. Too bad there was a correction after, but then he collects the first in the touch and go. Then the transition to OZ2, then OZ3, connected to the next one. This is one rhythm, one dance, and this is the most precious OZ4. Too narrowly, and then he misses the exit from the OZ, and then finally the finish. Everything looked fine, everything looked cool. A nice aggressive initiation. I can even turn my blind eye to that correction. Okay, it was there, but globally it didn't really change anything. If it was a tandem run, well, it would even be okay. And OZ4 is a violation. And he almost misses. That zone. Out of 6 points, he's got 2 or even 1 or 2 of correction, because, well, this is a big violation of all the rules. But let's get back and recall what happened here. In 2019, Maxim Grossman came here for one stage in Rds Gp, and this is his first full stage in GP. And also such a team, we can't wait to see the continue. Just like we are we can't wait for the next interview with Alicia. Timofey Dobrovolsky looks upset about his second run, and this is a great moment for you to support him now. Timofey Dobrovolsky and Takayama forward Otto. Timofey, it was a cool initiation in the second run, but then something went wrong. What happened? The grip was stronger than it was in the morning, and I could feel that I made some mistake at the beginning, and this, I just wanted to make it sharper, and since the grip was getting stronger, I couldn't do it. Don't be upset, Tim. Your first attempt was great. The second was also very decent. So you can go to the skates now and then to your team stand. And now let's give a big round of applause to Timofey. It's interesting to check the tendency. Alicia reminds certain people to go to the scales. Why does she do that? Do they forget? And if she doesn't remind, do they go to the scales before or what? Is there a system? I'm trying to understand some connections. 97 degrees. 97 degrees was the initiation angle of Timofey Dobrovolsky. That was a backward, and he couldn't get out of the backward properly. The score isn't that bad. It's not as bad as the mood of Timofey. The success of his first run, but in one places he improved it, and in the others it went off. But you know, this is how you want to continue. Once you have gained something, you want to continue. Okay, this is Ilya Fedorov, who had 81 points. And now there is a lot to improve. There is a lot to add. Get it at least to 90. Let's see what this guy can do on board his Eva Silvia here at the Red Ring. The second run of the qualifying initiation, and then he turns it around and misses the inner touch and go. In the second, he's better. And also 2 is also not bad. From this angle, it always looks like there is not enough speed, but then the dynamic system shows us the objective values. All at 4, almost perfect, and then another transition, the last clipping zone, and the finish. Ilya Fedorov finishes his run, and I told you that he had some victories and some glorious history, and that he is a very great driver, but the maximum score in the qualifying of Ilya Fedorov was 83 in the last 2 years. So I wouldn't even say that he is very lucky here at this circuit. This is not his best, definitely, but recalling the previous years when he had weaker vehicles here, the Red Ring was perhaps one of the tracks where you can try to fight for it, try to get a grip of it, but this run-in it kind of determines the further events. So if you are falling behind the leader, then it will be extremely hard to catch up. The initiation was quite well, but no, he got there with one wheel. Yeah, I had a feeling that he was like a ninja that evaded the first touch and go, but no, the inner touch and go was there and he got it. It is enough to get this little contact for the touch and go to be considered taken. Let's listen to Ilya Fedorov. It's good that only now you can listen to Ilya Fedorov after he has already said everything. Now you have the mic. I am loving everything. It's cool. I do have some questions about my gearbox, but I tried to make an agreement with it that it can work. I wanted to get a 90 plus. Let's see what the judges give me. That's okay. We will see what the judges give you. But Ilya Fedorov from Auto Profit team, he's standing right in front of you and he's waiting for his result. Did he bite his lip that hard? Ilya Fedorov was standing there bleeding. What kind of traumas can you get in a motorsports, like bitten lips, when you are so anxious? Or maybe you can bite your lips of excitement as well. The judges are still thinking about what they've just seen. Now the results are slightly developing. And now the results are also developing like this. We cannot tell you anything, but it looks like that. And wow! This is a great result. This is 93. Oh, yes, 90 plus, just as ordered. 10-year personal record in the qualifying at the Red Ring. This is something to celebrate. This is how you formulate your wishes. You need to be more certain. If you asked 90, 99 from the universe, maybe you could have got it. You never know. And this is Vladislav Popov from Felku Dark Side, and this is his initiation, his second run, with some corrections. And this is the second OZ. Yes, here you widen out the line. And this is the transition to OZ4, the most precious clipping zone, and too narrowly he is going through the inner touch and go. And the last transition and the last outside clip in this qualifying for Vlad Popov. In all the universes except for Weisfab, such things that happen in OZ4 that Vladislav Popov did cause spinning. The magic of the Z is working. I always surprised to see such things and such engineering solutions. Maybe this is the angle that is playing, and the angle was also 86 degrees. It was almost a backward. It is not foreseen but any kind of task, and it is impossible from the physics point of view. It smells like Hogwarts here, or David Blaine. This is some street magic, definitely. And here's Alicia on air, and she's got someone to talk to. You know, guys, this is a very interesting situation with Popov brothers. They both wear glasses, and they always ask me to comment on their runs, but I also don't have a very good eyesight. So let the audience evaluate the run of Vladislav Popov. Did you like it? Do you hear it? And now share your feelings from inside. Which one did you like more? The first one was kind of calm, and in the second I decided to get more risky, and I think the second one was better. Great, risk is a noble thing to do, and that risk really worked out. The commentator just called you a street magician. Maybe you will be the Red Ring magician now. Do you like this nickname? Well, sounds fine to me. Great, it does. Vladislav Popov, my friend, Felku Dark Side. We are waiting for his result, for his second run. I wonder what they would be like. Our judges can't wait to give us the results. Vlad Popov would really look very nice with all these magic moves if he had these Harry Potter spectacles. It would be full harmony of his image. It would also be a fun way of distinguishing between Ilya and Vladislav, because they are twin brothers. So this is the score finally, 31, 33.5. Wow, and this is 90. 90, guys, this is 90. Great. Everything is working perfect. Okay, and this is the main interesting thing, 94.5. There are two rivals who have 95 points. So it makes half a point of difference. And Syntec Fresh Marketplace, Damir Diatulin, who will now try to do something with it. He's his assets. He has had 97 points before. So let's go, Damir Diatulin, Furidashi. And he adds a little bit of angle here, and he slides along the no-go zone for the inner touch and go. And another inside touch and go on the second transition, very sharp, but it's a little bit narrow in OZ2. Then he widens out the line, he works through OZ3, and he makes a transition along the white line very beautifully. And what happened there in the last touch and go? We will figure it out on the replays, and now this is the finish. I guess there will be lots of replays. I think touch and go 4 and also at 4 will be the main object on these replays. There is a very nice and careful gas release. Here there was a little transition that wasn't very good, but generally the runs are very similar. And here there are some differences. He didn't reach it with his front wheel, no matter how much Supra was trying to reach out her wheel like a cat reaching out with his paw. Still, he missed that control point. But what an entrance in those at 1, so beautiful. And then he pressed the gas too early, much earlier than the dotted line. Great, perfect. And everything is covered in smoke. It looked like he's been pressing the gas throughout the run. He doesn't even blink his eyes, always concentrated, always very disciplined. Some actors often forget about it. When they need to concentrate, they start blinking their eyes, but a really concentrated person never does it. And here he could have got 3 more points. And well, listening to Damir. Damir says he's got some problems with the car, but first let us greet your compatriot, Damir Diatulin, Syntec Fresh Marketplace. And let's begin with the hot news. What happened to the car? Some questions about the fuel. It looks like the pump is not working very stably. Yeah, we just saw it together with the spectators. Now let's move to your qualifying runs. What would you say? Tell me. The first one was quite good. The grip wasn't very strong, and I still had some margin to move for. Not very stably, not super aggressively. In the second attempt, I wanted to be more aggressive, but I used the same tire, so I used the same on 2 runs. I reduced the pressure, but it didn't help me get more grip. When I try to make it more aggressive and your tires don't let you, you cannot make a sharp transition like you want. So I think that I ruined my run at the very beginning. So I think that I'm going to have something like below 90. The scores are ready, so let's see. Okay, 31, 33, 26. Yeah, so this is exactly 90. Yes, 90 sharp. But this is not 95. This is what we've been talking about. You should have overcome it. And this is Grigory Gusev. He had 95 for the first run. And now here comes the question. Gusev or Schneider? Who will be the leader after this run? Grigory Gusev, of course, would do well if he could create some foundation for his further leadership, but at least he can jump to the first run right away. What is the angle? I think the dynamic system will go crazy. He's already in OZ2, and now through the inside clip, he is making a transition into OZ4. This is a nice and broad line. He adds more angle, working through the last inside touching go and runs to OZ5. Yeah, so there was so much angle. It was Chuck Norris style in the angles, just like in the joke when Chuck Norris and Arnold Schwarzenegger meet, and Chuck Norris asks Arnold Schwarzenegger, how many push-ups can you do? He says 1,000. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger asks Chuck Norris, how many push-ups can you do? And he says, all of them. And this is exactly what Grigory Gusev does. He showed us all the angle, the entire angle, everything he could. It, of course, didn't really... It couldn't but influence the speed performance, and now we are looking into the dynamic system, and we are also checking whether he did or did not get the inside touch and go. No, the first one, yes, here there was too much of an angle, and here he overdid it. Yes, he had so much turnout. Yeah, you could fit all your wheels in my turnout, says Grigory Gusev. Last year, Roman Tivadar made the same mistake in his run with the Myridiaturin, and he spinned. He couldn't keep it under control. 84 points at the initiation, then it was 93, then it was 67, wow, then 85. Oh, wow, my God, what are you doing? What does this guy do? Let's listen to him. Grigory Gusev from Lukoil Racing Drift Team. Oh God, I even forgot the name of your team, Griha. Your fervor to win is unstoppable. Share your feelings. Konstantin just said that from his height, your first run was better. What do you think? I think my second was better because I had so much style and angle. I know I'm going to have some deductions, but I think it's going to be better. And since this morning, my favorite number has been 100, so I think it's going to be well. This is your hint for the judges. Is this your favorite track as well? One of my favorites. We are doing very well together. Great, guys. Let's give a big round of applause to Grigory. The judges have seen another replay, and perhaps they are ready to give the score to this driver from Nakhodka. And as far as the relationship with the track are concerned, Grigory Gusev is doing here very well. He was 31st on his first year, just like his score for the line. And 86. And this is the leader of the qualifying. Let's give him a huge round of applause. 86 points was enough to move Leonid Schneider to the second line. But, well, this is not a 100 whatsoever. Okay, this is getting more exciting. And now we will take a small advertising break for a couple of minutes, and then we will meet again.
Встречайте новую карту для жизни от ВТБ и делайте лучше каждый день.
Понедельник день тяжелый.
Но оформить бесплатную карту легко, а пользоваться бесплатно выгодно.
Вторник, день второй.
Делитесь бесплатными переводами и чувствами.
Среда – маленькая пятница.
Позвольте себе больше с большим кэшбэком.
Четверг – рыбный день.
Ловите 1000 рублей после первой покупки по карте.
С пятницы.
Моя очередь и кэшбэк мой.
Делайте лучше каждый день. Оформите новую карту для жизни на vtb.ru.
В этом сезоне нас постигла участь моношина.
Я, в принципе, изначально понимал, что это правильное решение.
Ужасно, отвратительно. Хуже у меня в жизни не было.
Это пределы трассы!
В целом мне всегда вообще я еду так, как мне удобно.
Все довольны. Все проезды близкие.
У меня получится все-таки заехать на тумбу, и победить всех парней с форварда.
Мы все понервничали очень сильно. Я, наверное, переживал больше, чем за себя.
Надо побеждать. Вот за этим каждый из нас сюда приезжает.
Если радио, то максимум.
We're back on air. We're at the Red Ring Circuit. We continue the qualifying round of Rds Gp 2023, Stage 5. And this is him, Alexei Vakhtin. The name which his opponents pronounce when they wake up in cold sweat. Now he's a regular one in top 8. And he started this successful series in Sochi back last year. But then he decided to give a chance to Andreas Stapov, and he straightened out after him, and it was an OMT when Andreas Stapov finally won. It was a weird heat, but whatever. Alexei Vakhtin from PS team, and this is his first qualifying round, and of course we're waiting for some good angles, just like he usually does. Let's see what he can do. Yes, I think it was a little backward with some correction after, and he corrects 2 first inside touching goals, and he makes the transition to OZ2, and he's running to OZ3, sliding along the outside edge of the track, but he should have gone to no-go zone. In now the transition and narrow entrance to OZ4. It's good he added more angle, but it's too early. And then he goes to OZ5, almost jumping off the asphalt. 141 km/h was the initiation speed. This is not the best figure ever. This is not very amusing, but the angle was quite good, just like at the initiation and after the transition. Well, this guy loves big angles. He does, and once when I asked him, why do you drive in such big angles, he said, just because I can. Why not? Nikita Shikov has just come out of his tent. He went to test his car, and since Drift Dynamics does record his appearance, I hope that now his handbrake is working fine. Let me remind you that Nikita Shikov will have only one run because he's in the health group. And now if anyone else joins him, this will be the last run of the qualifying. Alexei Vakhtin, let's see the angles. At the initiation it was 97.6, after the transition 68, and then 66. So it's very big everywhere, not medium. Then he corrected by 50-something, and then at last, at the very last phase, he came back to the judge's task. No, it was 59 points. So he allowed himself to show a big angle, not some medium one. Yes, we live only once. Why not? And the car allows him to do so, most importantly. And this is very interesting, very exciting to drive your Toyota Altezza like this. This is the magic of Vakhtin. Vakhtin magic. Vakhtin, give me a ride. Vakhtin, win it. Yes, and there are checks. Maybe it means that in some places Vakhtin did turn his magic on. Yeah, this is some magic school, totally. This is Dmitriy Ermokhin. Yeah, this is Dmitriy Ermokhin, the guy who has had a lot of runs here at the Red Ring, just like all the other Siberian drifters, but he has never gone further than top 16. At least in Rds Gp, for some weird reasons. His best rating was being 9th last year, even though Dima loves this circuit and this track loves him as well. But for another, he spent the whole season in Rds Siberia to see how his S-chassis works, so he would come with a different suspension for every stage. And Dmitriy Ermokhin is one of the very few people who designs his suspension solutions himself, and he applies them himself, and he uses them himself. And this is his, yes, maximum for the angle, no doubt. This is 82.5, not a bad start. This is very good for further self-improvement. This is what we wish him. And now let us move to Dmitriy Ermokhin right away. He represents Star Pro Stars Imol. This team has only 2 drivers out of 4 because there's no more dilemma who to take. 2 drivers will have to do whatever they can. Dmitriy Ermokhin does the run in, and then he initiates within the borders of the track. During the practice, he couldn't recognize those white lines, but now finally he didn't recognize the first inside touch and go and lost a lot of speed. He pushed his car inside, and he didn't really do it well in the outside clip, and now everything is fine. And he only finishes the last touch and go, and the last touch and go, last OZ Was it opposite drift? Was it an opposite drift? That was an uncontrolled finish, I think. This is some strange run, just to compare. Last year, 89 points in the second run was enough for Yermokhin to find himself on the third line of the qualifying rating. This season, it definitely wouldn't work this way. And moreover, with all my respect to Dmitry and his drifting, 89 is very little. The initiation was more or less fine. Then the inner touch and go, he didn't take it. And then the second he took, and then he had to slow down, because once you fly by the second inner touch and go, you find yourself in the position that is very close to the second inside touch and go. And you need to do something. You have to slow down and to do the transition so that you don't miss another inside touch and go. Once you are in OZ 2, you are losing so much speed that there is no inertia whatsoever. Mytrienko pressed the gas right there, and the car started moving, but it went inward, inside, and you saw all the rest. He corrected it by OZ 3, and OZ 4 also was okay, but in OZ 5, which is right before the finish, it finishes like 15 meters away from the finish, and in this 15 meters the judges prescribed to reduce the angle and to accelerate. The speed fell to 45 kilometers per hour in OZ2. This is tragic. This is lamentable. And I also checked the density of the results. Grigory Gusev is the current leader. Leonid Schneider has the same result, 95. The Miridiaturin is half a point away. Then Maxim Grossman is another half point away. Then Ilya Fedorov, Anton Klimco with 92.5. Then there are two with 90, Vladislav Popov and Anton Mytrienko. And then Popov was one line higher because he had a better second run. Then 89 is Timofey Dobrovolsky. And three drivers have 88, Ilya Popov, Denis Migalin, Denis Sarakaput. And then it's 87, Stepan Azarov, and 86, Anatoly Scherbak. Wow. 83, Nikolai Garkovenko. Okay, let's get to top 16. Alexei Vakhtin is now 13th because he still has a chance to improve it. And if he does, he can pass several opponents because the density is incredible. I haven't seen anything like that for a long time. Maybe this is not a very good comparison, but this is something like in Rds Europe, with a very similar reality, where 87 points doesn't give you anything. You can simply go home and cry. Roman Tivadar, just like all of us, is waiting. Just take a look at this new helmet of Roman Tivadar. There are mountains, but they resemble the Egyptian, the pyramids of Egypt. Like Nikolai Rerich's paintings. He usually painted Himalayas. But, well, all mountains are beautiful, you know. But this is what it reminds me of. Yesterday we spoke a lot about palm trees, but now we're speaking about mountains. So it's nice talking about art. Okay, these are Popov brothers, a Phil crew team. There's Arkady Petrovich, who hasn't said his word yet, and Arkady Sergratsov is one of the most efficient drivers here, and he has one of the best victories here. He said that I have won one domestic race. And then he won another one, even though it was a very, very difficult opposition and no victory. And the victory wasn't necessarily required for the championship. But then it all happened. And Mytrienko, after very big waiting, it is only 71. I didn't think I would say anything like that about Mytrienko, but no one has done it that bad. But the good news is that it wasn't opposite drift, because if it was, he would have had a 0. Roman Tivadar, in the meanwhile, another guy from Sochi. He's from Takayama Forward Auto. Wow! And so sharply, then he presses the gas at the right moment, and then he gets the inside touch and go. And the second OZ, and wow! And then Roman reduces the angle just like many other drivers in this place. And then he works through the inside touch and go, and he loses at least one wheel. No, carry it. No, no, no! there was too much angle. This is a good example of the difference between Weissfab and the suspension that forward auto cars have. Unfortunately, it is impossible to get the car out from such a deep angle. And this is the suspension that forward auto uses. Yesterday, Georgy Shevchan made such a mistake twice when he was a chaser. Outside the track, there is a little bit of asphalt, but it's not a clean asphalt, and it's very far from perfect. So getting there is not very good. And now, of course, the opponents have lost a lot of little particles out there and debris that make it very slippery. Arkady Tseregratsev has been second here 3 times. Let's see what he can do this time. Arkady Tseregratsev failed with dark side, the defending champion of Rds Gp. He's pressing his right hand pedal and then he misses the inside touch and go 1, another transition, also 2. And then he is emitting more and more smoke, also 3 side behind. He collects the inside touch and go. Then he makes the transition to the last touch and go. And the exit is not very well, but then all he has to do is to pass the last inside. Okay, the last OZ. But it is very dangerous to straighten out like that, because you never know what the judges think about it. Maybe it's better to keep the angle and to keep safe. That is a careful initiation for Arkady Tseregratsev, but yes, there was not enough precision. The inner touch and go of 4 points was ignored, and I'm sure that it wasn't an intention of Arkady Tseregratsev. Everything looked pretty stable in the outside zones 2 and 3, and as far as the inner touch and go is concerned, we speak very little about it because it's almost automatic. It comes out on its own, and I really cannot imagine a situation when someone would miss the inside touch and go number 3. You can only miss it if you are in the no-go zone, but even if you are in the no-go zone, at least one will be there. This is not about automatism, it's about keeping the drivers away from the temptation to widen out the line, because otherwise there will be no more place left for the chaser. I think that there used to be an inner clip, but it was decided to remove them and to replace them with the inside touch and go, saying like, why not if we can do that? This is like the first red flag that was at Moscow Raceway when Maxim Akhtemov was asked, how do you judge the inner clip, hit or miss? And then say, well, why sit there? Let's take a touch and go. And this is what they did. Up before the last transition, Arkady Tseregratsev increased the angle to 86 degrees. I wonder if it's true. Let's watch it very attentively. Once we're there, we will see. Let's fly following the Fire Lady Z of Arkady Tseregratsev. The angle reduced to 30 degrees, and then he had saws at 4, a little bit narrow, and oh yes, there is a correction. Yes, really, he did rock his car to the left. And the system did register that little sway. Yeah, you see that little spot on that straight line. That is that angle change. You could say that there were some little lags out there. Yes, here it will happen. Yes, the angle reduces. Yes, and then there's a transition, and here up. Did you see it? Yeah, so from this angle it's not very easy to see, but when you watch it from the drone it was very obvious. There is an interesting thing about judgment and about the explanation, what to do, what not. Oh, but let's see the score first and then we continue. This is 84.5. This is not the limit for the defending champion. In RDS Europe, Andrei Ostapov is a regular judge, and he tried to make a video record of adding angle before the transition. He said, I see it with my eyes, but I cannot see it in the video, no matter how much I try. Yeah, so there is some certain video effect. Danila Skarabaganov, he had a very beautiful performance here in 2021. We can't wait to see it again, and he misses. And he misses the touch and go. This is only the first act of this drama. And then, of course, the third one. And then he makes a transition into the most precious clipping zone. He remains within the track, and I think that he gets the maximum for the line. And he does the last outside clip. And speaking about the Supra, this is an answer to the question whether time up finally has a Supra? Well, yes, but unfortunately no. It is still there. It is standing on the tent. It is there. It is exhibited there because Danila said that he didn't want to drive a Supra because he has tried it only once or twice, and he said, why risk it if he is okay with the Silvia? He made friends with it at last, and in this run you can see that maybe this is not complete mutual understanding. And also at 5, it doesn't very look easy, and there was so much expression in this curve. Do you see it? So much pressing, so much speed. It was 151 at the initiation, so finally he got there. But running in here is a special Olympic task because there are lots of bumps, and Evgeny Spirin broke his transmission gearbox there. So you need to be very careful about this. On one hand, it looks simple, but there is nothing difficult about it. Well, even a fool can do it, even an idiot, just press the gas and that's it. But no, it is much and much more difficult. 79 was the initiation speed, 179 kilometers per hour, and then it was 56 degrees. 79 degrees was the angle. Yes, sure, it is not the initiation speed. And of course, the drivers who perform here in winter, they have some difficulty because running it in winter is a certain skill. It's a separate skill where you need to find the grip and you need to find the optimal speed and the right moment for everything. And as you project the skill to the summer when there is much more grip, you have to play with your clutch, you have to work well with your right foot, with the gas pedal. Yes, so this is a real rocket science because when you have some excessive power, and 800, 900 horsepower is an excessive power, of course. If you have a 265 millimeter tire, it doesn't really match with the common asphalt. So you've got to use certain techniques to keep your run-in stable. This is what Danila Scherbak did, no matter what. And this is 87.5 Danila Scherbak, so this is a nice, and this is quite, it fits the visual impression. You see where you can do some improvement, and you know what to do. Andrei Astapov continues collecting unique achievements as far as the technical problems are concerned. Yesterday he decided to take up the winters, but everything was fixed, and now he's back in the saddle, the first attempt, and the counter shift that he didn't do right away, but the initiation is okay. He was slightly late with the initiation, then he begins collecting the first sectors, and then he is in the second OZ, and then the third one reduces the angle, and then he makes a transition to OZ4, and then he goes slightly narrower than he was supposed to. And now this driver from St. Petersburg, who is not from Yekaterinburg, he is not a rookie here. He's a bronze prize winner of Rds Siberia since he's been here since 2015. At a certain moment, the car didn't look like it was about to counter shift, make this flip, but Andrei Astapov was pretty persistent, and he sent the car to drifting the way he wanted. And generally speaking, the run was quite well. Yes, it was a little bit too narrow when I was at 4, but after that, maybe it was not that fantastic, but it was good. In the last previous 2 stages, and here in the Red Ring, you shouldn't hope for some fantastic run-ins. You need to qualify, and then you can surprise your audience. And the drivers from the Coil Racing Drift team can do that, definitely. And then everything will come. This is a strategy that can bring its fruit, sooner or later. And finally, now we're waiting for the score. It will be a little bit remote from what we've been waiting for. And we're also waiting to see Andrei Astapov among the prize winners of Rds Siberia. That was the same year when Dmitry Ermokhin became the champion. And I wanted to check how many times Arkady Tseregratsev won Rds Siberia, because I need to refresh it, and I found out that it was 3 times. Arkady Petrovich Tseregratsev won Rds Siberia 3 times. And most funnily, formerly Georgy Chevchan has never been the champion of RDS Siberia, because before 2014 it was called Drift Battle, and he became the champion in 2012. And in 2011 it was Vladimir Safonov, our judge. So, of course, it doesn't matter what you call it, because our championship wasn't also RDS GP all the time. It used to be just RDS. Then the Siberians liked adding West to it, and Siberia, to show that we're equal, even though we could see that the championship developing in the European part of the country attracted more strong drivers and spectators. And finally, the Siberians confirmed it and started to joining our championship that was further renamed to RDS GP. Now let's listen to the radio. Well, bro, was it awesome? We're just watching the replays. And also in the curve it was great. And the curved suspension, he says. What is wrong with the suspension? I didn't know about that. Yesterday I could see mechanics working around with very confused way. Oh, 94! Is that 94? That is awesome. And it looked much more humble, in fact. It didn't look that spectacular. It was very efficient. Well, cool, 94, doesn't it rock? That's a takeoff to top 4, potentially, especially if we recall that there's one more run for Andrei Astapov to do. There is also Maxim Grossman, who has a worst attempt of 92 points. So there is still a lot to talk about. Now Alexei Bakhtin continues. This is his second run, and it looks quite well. A big angle after initiation, and then he almost avoided the correction. They're on the microscopic ones in OZA 2, and then accompanied with his tornado-like phenomena, he's running to the transition into OZA 4 very well here. And then he added a little bit more angle, and then the last touch and go. So it's hidden in the smoke, and then this is OZA 5. I can say that it was almost the best run of Alexei Bakhtin ever since the moment we saw him first. And this is a very beautiful initiation. Press the gas on time, then the inner touch and go, check. Then very stable angle, check. Maybe a little bit more of the angle than prescribed, but this is okay. The judges do not usually penalize it. Everything is great. Outside flip 4, great. The inner touch and go number 4 also perfect. Number 5, very well. So there is nothing to analyze. Of course, you see that the devil is in the details. But anyway, if you take the visual part of that run, it was absolutely amazing. And I also want to remark that at a certain point we could see only half of the Altezza. The other was hidden in the smoke, which means that the accelerator pedal was working very actively, because the more the tire rotates, the more it warms up, the more smoke it emits, because it evaporates. It basically evaporates, and it also says that the reduction is very well set up, that there is a lot of speed on the wheel. That is what Arkady Tseregradzev loves. And what does Alicia like? We will find it out very soon. And we love cool and smoky runs and good mood of our drivers. How do you feel, Alexei Bakhtin? I'm sure that he is very happy. You can welcome Alexei here while he is merrily nodding his head. Did you like your second run? Was it better than the first? Yes, indeed. In the first one, there were some little questions that I should ask myself. And in the second, well, there were some little mistakes. They're always there, but I really enjoyed. And I'm sure that you also did. Yes, the spectators did enjoy. Let us not hold you here. It's very hot. My friends, if you didn't know this superstition, but if you meet Alexei Bakhtin in the service park, touch his hand, and then you will be very lucky. And this is 93.5. Perfect. That is perfect. You could tell that this is a very nice run. And Konstantin Kopolev also gave me more detail about Andrei Astapov that we will tell you later when he is doing his second run. And now all our attention to Roman Tivadar from Takayama Forward Auto, who, by the way, had a 0 for the first run. So this is the self-save session, and this is a very important moment. The hands is being fixed. Hand system keeps the head and the neck of the driver in case of an accident, and it is very important. Unfortunately, it had to be used several times. It's good that it helped, but it's bad that the drivers had to use it. And we thank our organizers for paying so much attention to the safety, for having these circuit racing practices. It is very, very important. And now Roman Tivadar is initiating, and then he's led with the gas, and he makes an angle correction, but still he gets all the control points in the first sectors. The Oza 2 is left behind. Just don't get a 0 in the second run, then the transition to Oza 4. And then finally he adds more angle, and then he gets out of there and he takes it to the finish. As far as we can see, Roman Tivadar zeroed down his first run, and he zeroed himself down. He reset himself because there is no mistakes. There are no mistakes that Roman Tivadar did. It doesn't look like he's risking anything. He's just doing whatever he can do. Initiation almost 90 degrees out there. And then further near Oza 4 especially, and then near the end, I felt a little anxious. And there's that very bad seam on the asphalt that destabilizes the car. And now you could see that Roman had to catch his car out there after that little seam, because it kind of made a little jump. But the good setup can always help. It always helps, and all the cars of Forward Auto are very well set up, except maybe for Andreas Tapov. He recognized he had bad suspension this time. Roman Tivadar had 86 degrees at the initiation, then he made a correction. He took almost 40 points out of there, or at least 35, because it was 52, and then after that he decided to do the transition. It looked kind of shabby, and they didn't play a very big role. Most importantly, it was a productive run. Of course, it is hard to get into the bye run because there is a very, very strong competition, and Vahtin almost said his word out there. He still lacked a little bit to get there to the very top. Now let's listen to Roman Tivadar, what he says about it. Roman was so nervous, he doesn't even want to leave the car. He is just sitting there, chilled and relaxed. Roman, so you could do that. You did it. You can relax. You can say everything you think. First of all, I feel huge responsibility before the audience of Krasnoyarsk. There are lots of drifting fans, and I think that drifting actually came from here, and the headquarters of our team is here. So showing them such zeros as I did wasn't right. I did have to correct it in the second run, just not to get any score for myself, but just not to disappoint the viewers and the spectators, because the people here know good drift and they deserve seeing the best. But it was a good run, wasn't it? You couldn't do it better. So, Roma, you can go to your tent, and this is the score. 35, 33, and 26.5. This is very decent, and this is 94.5. Wow. And he's fourth. And this is the bye-run zone, this far as we know it. And it can expand, but we don't want it to expand. We don't even want to think about it. But here, Roman Tivadar made his statement. And there is an interesting fight, a fight of half points. Dmitry Yermokhin. This is who needs to get back in the eyes of himself and the eyes of the audience. So, okay, Dmitry, show me the powerful drift. Even though he was a no-go zone with the rear wheels, he makes another transition, knows that too. And then he pushes away from the outside edge of the track, and then Silva S15. He's running to bring it back to normal. This is how it looks. He knows at 4, and then finally the last clipping zone knows at 5, and this is the finish. Yes, he did it. He did it regardless of not the best performance in OZ2. Okay, now let's compare. The initiation was much more aggressive this time. In the first run, it was kind of from straight wheels, you know, and the configuration of the red ring is not suitable for it. Yes, it doesn't allow anyone initiated like this. You need to respect this traffic lights. You need to respect this track. It doesn't allow you to do it like this. You need to have some impetus. In the second run, it was more or less better for Dmitry Yermokhin. Yes, on the very edge. That is so beautiful. Yeah, of course, finally he got no-go zone with one rear wheel, which is very rare. Very few times you can see anything like this. And then the third, the second and the third are not very good, very far from desired. The 3 and 4, okay. The inside Rachinko number 4 is also fine. And the finish, this little zone number 5 was passed correctly. In OZ2, I think he pressed the gas a little bit too late. This is the moment, but here it's hard to understand. You shouldn't speak about the gas, you should speak about the line, perhaps. There it's more or less clear. But now let's listen to Dmitry himself. Dmitry Yermokhin just quoted Evgeny Losev, saying just didn't happen. We're speaking about your first run, because the second was better. Yes, the first run was a failure. I don't know how I slipped. I don't know why it happened. The second one was better. I applied some aggression and some risk. Well, quite a lot of risk, to be fair. And, well, of course, I loved it more. The score is ready. Dmitry Yermokhin from Start Per Stars AMOL. Let's see his score for the second run. And this is 31, 33, and 25. Okay, maybe not the best ever, but better than the first. And it is 89 for Dmitry Yermokhin. Of course, Dmitry Yermokhin is in top 32 now, but the result is much more decent. We will speak about it later, because we've got Arkady Tseregradtsov, who's about to do his second run. His first run wasn't good, 84.5, especially considering that we're now watching the defending champion of Rds Gp, the previous director of this circuit. This is Arkady Tseregradtsov, and he makes the initiation, collects the inner touch and go first and second, and then the second and the third inside clipping zone, and then he's sliding along the outside edge of the track. It looks like this is the maximum for the line, and here he didn't. And OZ 4, and then he's a little narrow at the exit, and OZ 5 very, very sharply, very strictly along the white line. And now we go to standby and analysis mode. When he finished his first run, Arkady Tseregradtsov was losing to his teammates, to Ilya Vladislav Popov's. I'm even afraid of speaking about it, and Vakhtin as well, his former teammate. The second run was much better, even though there were some problems. Like OZ 4, the most expensive one, wasn't taken well. It looked like the grip was maybe too excessive. There's not too much wind, and there's a lot of sun, and the asphalt is warming up, and there is a lot of grip, and it's growing, and it's very different from the conditions that we had in the morning. This is why the cars cannot go as wide as the drivers want them to. Like Timofey Dobrovolsky, who said that he didn't expect such grip to happen. And who we expected, that is Alicia and Arkady and their interview. The thing is, Arkady Tseregradtsov loved his both runs equally. Yes, I'm good at driving, you know. I press the gas, maybe I turn the steering wheel too much. But globally, if I didn't like my runs, I would never race at all. Of course, there are some corrections, there are some little mistakes and some little questions. Yes, if you analyze it all, you may find a lot. But, well, I did press the gas and it worked. But the second run was a little better. Do you think it was 90 plus? What do you think, my friends? How else can your friends greet you here at home? This is Arkady Tseregradtsov. Full crew, and the score is ready, and we're about to see it right now. 34, 32, and 27. And this is 93. Yes, finally 93. But Arkady Tsaregradze will have to fight in top 32 because this is not a by-run area. This is already a fact, and Alicia somehow anticipated that result. And now Danila Skorobogatov, 87.5 had for the first run. And here he's got someone to chase, and these are his teammates as well. He was very close to the no-go zone, and he made a transition right before the inner touch and go. The second outside clip is left behind in the clouds of smoke. He's working through all that three, and there's not too much angle, unlike some of his colleagues and teammates. So that 4, the most expensive clipping zone, no questions whatsoever. But I do have about the next OZ. Okay. So there are some questions sometimes. Sometimes we have them, sometimes we don't. But I would say that generally these runs are similar. The first run was 87.5 from Danila Skorobogatov. This is how the judges evaluated the efforts of the driver from Tomsk. And in the second run, yes, the second run was at 4 was too wide. So more or less average, medium. Plus minus medium is an interesting sentence, okay. But generally he kind of got there, but he didn't at the same time. The Schrödinger's no-go zone. Here it's nice and clear. Here he added more angle. So now it's time to listen to Danila Skorobogatov, and once we get there to the finish together with him, we will listen to him, and we will find it out directly where he pressed and where he watched, where he looked. Danila Skorobogatov is so content and happy. Danila Skorobogatov from Time Up. He's standing in front of you. I'm trying to reach out to you. Share. Well, there was nothing to share. I was trying to do it like a fish, and this is what I said during the practice. When I said I want to be like a fish, I would make a 100-point run, and now I didn't do a proper run in. Too hot, some wrong thoughts. It was a good run generally. But what do you think? Which of the runs was better? The second was better, I think, but from inside it looked like I was in the no-go zone. Now our judges will give us all the results. Think it was a cool run. All the runs are great today, aren't they, guys? Yes, we're loving it. And now let us get the judges a little bit more time to discuss. Yes, the score is here. You can see it and then go wherever you want. Okay, Danila is ready. 32, 34.5 for the angle. 93. And 93, the total, yes. He goes and joins his teammates. Let's listen to the radio. Andrei doesn't do a by run. Yeah, you will wash the car yourself if there is no by run. They found a bent arm in the suspension of Andrei Ostapov's car. And this is the answer to the question why they were setting up the car yesterday and it wasn't going the way he wanted. Something was bent, but nevertheless 94, and now the car is going up. And now the beginning is not very hopeful. I mean, as far as the by-run is concerned, but he still has a chance. Even though the leader of the personal standings are yet to come, Andrei Ostapov is almost at 4, and he's going too narrow, adding more angle, maybe a little bit too much at a certain point, and Andrei is already knows at 5 and finishes. You could tell how much effort he was making. You could tell that he was trying to do his best to show us something special, to show us something cool, but obviously it just didn't work out, and all these bent arms, they did make their effect. Andrei Ostapov is a great lover of driving bent and cars. He's tolerant and inclusive. He always gives his car a chance to go better than it actually can, in this situation especially. And I often recall that season 2017 when he and his mechanic just decided not to screw the upper arm because it wouldn't come up, and he decided just to go without it. And he went there with the dynamic turnout of the right rear wheel, and he almost got somewhere to the top of the qualifying. It was interesting. He left the first outside clip a little bit too early, and consequently he found himself with one wheel outside in the no-go zone. And then next to Andrei Astapov there is Alisha. Unlike Grigory Gusev, Andrei Astapov is ready to speak to us, and he says that his first run was better. It is really so. I decided to put the emphasis on the second outside zone. I should have done it a little bit wider. I would have got more points. This is why I made an emphasis there, and I forgot about the initiation. With all of these tumbles of yours, you just shouldn't do it like that. So do you think you're going to wash your car yourself? Are you going to wash your car yourself? The mechanics will wash it. Yeah, it looks so. Andrei Astapov from Lukoil Racing Div team. And your scores here, and if you are not in the buy runs, you will wash your car yourself. This is not as bad as it could be, but not as good as it could be. This is 89.5. It's nice that we've got drivers who can drive whatever they want. And now let's listen to the radio one more time. Losev is going on a failing engine. The rescue services asked to be ready. This sounds surreal. Just yesterday we were thinking about different verbs that you could make out of last names, like Kurzhakov when you miss the goal in football. And judging by the sound, there was one cylinder that is missing, just like Damir. So, okay, Evgeny, please hold on. He's missing the first clip. In the second one, yes, he hardly did it. Oh, wow, there's so little angle out there, but then he adds more. He continues fighting with his car, now at 4. And finally, there's one last transition, and also at 5. And he did it. Oh, wow, there's a fire. Ah, okay. Oh, thanks God. It's off. He did it. Now you can feel the scent of motor oil in the air. Can you feel it? And this is what makes you believe that you are actually at a motorsport event. All those who are now at the stands now, they can enjoy it. And the engine sounds very funny. It sounds very sick. It sounds like a roar of a sick lion. I think that one cylinder, at least one cylinder is missing, or even more, because there's definitely some power deficiency. It's so good that he's got a spare car of Denis Migal, the Hornet, that has got a 2JZ 4.3 liter. So if you've got one in your ZEP, why not use it? Looks like Evgeny Losev will have to go to top 32. And then, well, he will not have much time to work on his car. Of course, he's got some time, and you never know who you are driving with, and you can also reschedule your run in top 32. But obviously, the car is not very fit. It was restored by the heroic efforts of the mechanic after that crash on Thursday. Of course, maybe if it is not that scary for such an experienced driver, but you can now see that the car cannot go the way the driver can, which means that there will not be that points that can take him to top 4. Therefore, he will have to fight through the top 32. You could see that one of the wheels was almost straight, but I don't think that the angle zeroed down. So I don't think that this is a 0 for a run. A similar thing happened to him in OZ2 with a very serious correction. But well, Evgeny Losev is the winner of 2 qualifying rounds here at Rds Gp and the winner of one of the stages. The angle reduced to 20 degrees, so the car made a weird jump out there, but this is not a zero anyway. This is not a zero of an angle. This is not a zero for the run. There was some big correction, but I think that the judges know what to do with it, and we're waiting for the scores, and we're waiting for the destiny and some verdict of this Supra number 81. There's also some question about weighing, isn't there? The question is whether anything is leaking from the car, and if it is, what do you do and how do you weigh it? Because all the parts have to be intact, and this is 72 points. And I guess that there will be no second run, but well, who knows? And now we are already in the 5th run. This is the leader of the personal standings, Georgy Chevchan, 3-time winner of Russian Drift Series and 2-time winner of FIA IDC, the leader of Takayama Forward Auto and the leader of the personal standings. And this is his first qualifying run on his home stage for himself and for his team. The initiation, very generous counter shift. Then he steps the right-hand pedal and then he goes very weirdly, almost missing the inside touch and go, but then he's already knows it too. And then I have a feeling that he either didn't get the right pressure or maybe the tires aren't their best. And we saw it during the practice. Why do you do it? We saw Roman Tivadar do it. And yes, he's totally mimicking his teammate. And I should remark that Georgi spinned a little bit earlier than Roman Tivadar, because Roman Tivadar spinned at the end of the 4th stage and Gocha just let the car go too early. And now Anton Kozlov is preparing for his attempt. We did see the zero, so we could see what it is and where it got from. We've got 2 more participants who haven't been to the start yet. And there's Anton Kozlov from Carville Racing on board his Pro Babka BMW 30, and Charles Eng from Stapler Stars iMall. And I was very upset about the zero that Gocha got, and I thought that if the second run doesn't work out, it is good news for the fans, because they will see their icon in top 32. No by runs, no matter how great they are. Even a goodbye run cannot replace any battle run. Yes, please blink if you are held here by force. Now, by runs, we have top 4 who goes directly to top 32. At the moment, this is Grigory Gusev, Leonid Schneider, Damir Diature, and Roman Tivadar. And now Anton Kozlov will try to break in this company. He is now 3rd in the personal standings of the entire championship of Russian Drift Series Grand Prix. This is his rookie year, and this is very good. He's 2-time champion of the Junior League, Rds West, and this is his first qualifying run. And then a lot of dust is coming from the edge. He misses the inside touch and go, and the E30 number 73 is now accelerating out there. Then he collects the inside touch and go perfectly, very close to the no-go zone, very well, and O's at 4 with very generous angle and another transition. Very nice, nose at 5, and without that unfortunate clip in the touch and go, everything is very nice and looks awesome. And here is a very interesting moment. What the judges often recommend: if you see that something is going wrong, don't try to correct it right away, right there, because you could see that Anton Kozlov was trying to reach the inside touch and go, and he therefore slowed down his car, trying to get there no matter what, with all his effort and all his might to get to the inner touch and go, and he lost quite a lot of speed. At least this is how I see it, without any graphics, and also style-wise he will definitely get a deduction. You can ruin everything with the first sector, and this is what Anton almost did. It was a good run, and 75, even 76 degrees, and a very small correction after. And then he did everything right. Sometimes such efforts can do you harm. The speed was generally good, even at this slowest part, Noza 2, the speed was much more than 50 kilometers per hour. But what happened later at the finish? Well, he was in the corridor, which is described with a medium angle, and there is one more pleasant thing. The correction in Noza 3 at the exit was minimal. He reduced the angle just a little bit, but it was very small and cosmetic. So generally, the graphic makes a very good impression on me. 88, this is quite little for the first run, because the first two sectors were not very good, but then he improved it. 88 points, and he's 19th in the rating. What is it? Welcome to this reality. Charles Ng. I think it was his first flanker ride here at the Red Ring. And yes, it was. This is where he started driving the flanker. And we will check it out later. And now Charlie, he was very nice. And Thursday and Friday he tried to experiment it. Then all the experiments were deemed to be not very successful. And they were all cancelled. Now let's see what he can do in Noza 2 and Noza 3. Just the same. And now this is a transition Noza 4. Nice, clear and precise. Even though that sharpness wasn't required, but Charles can just do it, and this is what he does. And this is cool. Just like the judges said, after the Thursday runs, there is something demonic, something diabolic about Charles. It was also some magic, but this is black magic. No one could follow him because everything was covered in smoke. And just now see the right front wheel. He did everything to make this transition as sharp as possible. He almost kicked the brake pedal out there. And so the car relied more on the front wheels and started moving even faster. You could see it by the smoke coming from the rear wheels. Perhaps the setup of the car as well. It's very good. This is just amazing how precise he is in the first transition. He did it exactly at the moment when it was optimal. He took the touch and go with the front wheels, and immediately he went to the transition. And why I admire it so much, because he couldn't see the touch and go at that moment of the transition. This is just the intuition. This is what he could feel. Just like Andrea Stapov said, and he's one of the classics of our drifting, following your intuition is sometimes better. And this is exactly what happened to Charles. Intuition works very well for him. So it looks like someone will have to step off and step back in this current by-run area. I'm now looking at it, and I noticed how tall Silvios Georgiev-Chan is. And this is 94. Okay, so we have more and more drivers with this result. And here we say we welcome Charles. Everything now depends on his second run, because 94 is yet not a by-road zone, because we've got Tivadar with 94.5, we've got Damir with 94.5, and two drivers with 95. So Charles will have to work it better. Now this guy has to work it safe. I never thought I would say it about Georgiev-Chan, who is now doing his second attempt. He already knows that too. And once again, something is wrong in this combination of the tires, the Silvia, and the current circumstances. He passes those at 4. Now he just needs to stick to the finish, of course, and okay. I felt very nervous several times, and moreover, Georgiev-Chan drove a lot in the no-go zones. The initiation was pretty careful as he almost missed the inside touch and go. And in around the second near touch and go, I wonder whether he was in the no-go zone. I think that we'll have a chance to see it later. And the fact that he got here in the third one, he got in the no-go zone there, I have no doubts whatsoever. The main thing is that he's got some score, that he took it to the finish, even though Roman Tivadar said some right things when he said that the people here know good drift and they want to see the maximum quality only. So now, yes, Yes, he avoided it. Of course, Georgiev-Chan is not in the mood to talk to us. So we'll try to get the information ourselves to understand what kind of eclipse that is. I don't believe that drivers like that can have eclipses, but, well, whatever. A similar thing happened to Georgiev-Chan, happened in Sochi, when his first run was a 0 and the second was not very good. But this is a save, I know. I'm not even speaking about the result, but about the nature of movement. The car didn't look very well at the very beginning, even before that spin. And the feeling told me that it's not only about the car, but the driver knows that it's not very good. And this causes a whole chain, a whole system of causes and consequences. When there is a symbiosis of a driver and a well-conditioned car, it's good. But when both are... If Astapov didn't know that his arm was bent, probably he would have done it even better. But sometimes it's better not to know. Sometimes it's better not to have information about things. And when you know that something is wrong, that something is failing, then you also have a certain reaction, your inner balance is broken, and it's not very good. I think that every driver knows that once such chain of failures begins, you are waiting for betrayal. And this is what happens. Nikita Shikov is already in the pre-start, and he has only one attempt, but only when the drivers of our final group have got all of their runs. We obviously will not see Evgeny Losev, and this is the result of Georgiev-Chan. Not that bad, by the way, and this is 87. Okay, this is not a 90 plus, but well, whatever. At least we will see Gocha, and Losev is coming out. I thought we will not see him after, but well, maybe it means that the problem is not that bad, as it looked at least. Whoa. Or maybe he will try to improve it. So many hypotheses, so many versions. Anton Kozlov is coming out, and this is not about the hypothesis. 88 points was his result for the first run. Now it's time to improve it. He makes a transition, and he begins it a little early, and then he collects touching go 1, touching go 2. He is in the second OZ, and the speed is quite good, and he is collecting OZ 3 as well, and OZ 4. That was also perfect at the last run, and the last OZ 5. The wheel may fall out the white line, but it doesn't happen. But Prababka is very good at pushing, and many things told me about it. Those who have had some tandem runs with Anton Kozlov, they know that the car accelerates and slows down very fast. Evgeny Losev, by the way, he has no cylinder, and this is where I want to make a joke saying that he has no cylinder, meaning that he has no helmet. But okay, so BMW E30 of Anton Kozlov is looking very nice. But regardless of all the multiple adventures, his sill was damaged last time, and this is not a very bad problem, but it caused that the smoke was getting in the inside. And now we'll see an interview with Anton Kozlov. The most unusual car of our championship this season. This is Prababka, and its owner Anton Kozlov from Carville Racing for the first time here in Krasnoyarsk, standing in front of you, my dear friends. Let us welcome Anton with a lot of applause. Make sure that he remembers his first Krasnoyarsk visit forever. Do you like the qualifying? What do you feel? Which of the runs was better? What did you manage to do? What did you fail? The second attempt was better. There is a strong story with the grip in the first OZ. I noticed that I'm not the only one who is losing it because it's quite wide. Evgeny Losev says you've got to feel the weather here, and this is what I'm trying to do. Maybe I was mistaken with the weather. Maybe I just didn't guess the moment when the grip improves. By my feelings, I've given like 80% of what I had. And that's great. This is very good percentage. We will listen to the judges very soon. Anton Kozlov, my friends. This is a driver from Ulyanovsk. Let's say him hello one more time. Anton Kozlov was a little humble with the 80%, I think. But this is a guy who really calculates everything. Did you see it? Zhenya from Damir. Yes, his rear bumper is from Damir. Too bad you cannot do the same with the cylinders. But I think that Damir also could delegate one cylinder for a run, just one, and then take it back. Go to the by-run zone and then take the cylinder back. But I think that they just cannot fit in there together in the by-run zone, because the by-run zone is small, only 4 vacancies, and there we've got the main heroes, Grigory Gusev and Leonid Schneider, who was the qualifying winner until Griha got very much overwhelmed. And then there is Damir Detulin and Roman Tivadar. Both have 94.5 points. Maxim Grossman at 94. But, well, it still means nothing. We have more and more drivers who do the 90-plus attempts. There are 13 of them. The most successful team this far is Time Up. They have crazy ambitions. Then also very interesting lineup. All these drivers are very promising. Even in cinemas, it is usually, they say that these are new faces. These are the new faces. 35 for the line, and this is 95. 95, yes, here it is. We've got a new qualifying leader, yeah. Anton Kozlov, and this is everything you need to know. It is all happening right in front of us in the 90-plus area. No one can make a further step, but it looks like there will be so many people in that club. It won't, but it cannot host everyone. Okay, and then finally, Evgeny Losev without one cylinder. And his motor oil sponsor, there's quite a lot of oil evaporating into the atmosphere since he has no one cylinder. He misses O's at 1, O's at 2, he passes them. The engine is still working, and what an awesome O's at 4 done by Evgeny Losev, the last transition. Nice and sharp, and Ebra, that looks like the maximum of line. Oh, this is heroism. This is heroic attitude. I don't know any other word. In such a condition, Evgeny Losev finally realized what you need to do and what corrections you need to introduce to get your car move like this, to make it look that integral. And such a wow effect. So if the wheel doesn't rotate too much and doesn't produce enough smoke, and there is the engine, and also makes a big aromatic effect, plus a little fire show at the end. Evgeny Losev is an amazing person in all possible ways, in lots of ways. He's an amazing guy, definitely. His team always said that they gave him 3.4-liter engine because the 3-liter engine is too little for his temperament. But he showed that even 3.4 is too little. Or maybe he could add a stroke of like 3.6. But it would be a very tractor kind of engine, maybe not a very high revolution rate. But what is good for drifting is Alicia, who is so good at talking to drivers. Oh, Losev, well done, well done. Look at this guy, Zhenya. This is either everything or nothing. Yes, just like this. You know, this stage is very hard for us. This event is hard. My car was badly damaged. We fixed it. And in the morning, I came out for the warm-up, and I warmed up very well. But then the one of the cylinders is out. We put a jar in there, and then we tried to pump it up, and we got here. I'm wounded but not killed. Yes, and this is the end of the interview with Evgeny Losiev, Syntec Fresh Marketplace. Run to the scales, and we are now moving to the judge's decision. And the fifth cylinder, not the third. Is it good or is it bad? This is something new, I guess. There is some variety. There are 6 cylinders altogether. Now there are 5. Well, the cylinder is still there, but now it's not working full stroke. Okay, this is 35 for the line. Wow, wow, wow. And this is 95. I think we saw it somewhere. The entire by-run zone was filled with 95-point results. Would Charles N join them? He has already got 94-point result, and if he adds at least 1 point to that performance, then he will become the leader of the qualifying, because this is going to be his best, not best attempt. And this is the run and the initiation, the angle, the smoke actually go 1. And now another ringing transition, and here he slows down a little bit. And I think that even after this line where he had to press the gas, the flanker is pushing off brilliantly. He's already in top 4, and he adds more angle the last transition, and then he catches the no-go zone, which is at least 2 points of penalty for line alone. Yeah, and this is not everything. This is never everything. I know only one situation. This is when Arkady Petrovich had one wheel outside and he got 98 points. This is the only situation in history when it happened. But well, why not? Why not? Why cannot it repeat itself? And history knows lots of examples when 100 points was earned by Dmitry Aturin twice and by Evgeny Losiev once. But this doesn't smell like 100. Yes, he was very narrow in zone 5. But this is going to be anecdotic if it happens. And if it's 95 or something. Okay, Nikita Shikov, who is still there, he often made such beautiful runs with the first attempt, but we never forget him. We are waiting for him with great curiosity. We have already seen Roman Tivadar jumping up to a very good level after his 0, and we have a very brilliant combination on the top of the qualifying protocol, because these are drivers with some very good qualifying runs. Maxim Grossman, Andrei Ostapov, Roman Tivadar, Damir Diatulin. All of them will go to the battle, to the top 32 battle. The judges are watching a lot of replays, and this is clear because this is a big decision to make, and it is very important to see everything and to study everything. The second OZ is very beautiful. So in top 16 is represented by 90+ drivers. This is Krasnoyarsk. This is amazing. Let's listen to this hero. I asked Charles whether he is enjoying, and he said that he is enjoying it. Start for stars, I am all Charles and my friends.
We want to know all your emotions now.
I have like a roller coaster of emotions. Actually, it's been 1 year. As you guys know, this marks the 1-year anniversary of driving a flanker. Last year, this time, I was given a flanker for the first time. And here we are, 3 podiums and 1 wins later.
Yeah, wow, that was a great result. Charles
says that exactly 1 year ago, he in Krasnoyarsk, Sergei Kabarkin gave him a flanker to drive. And now, 1 year after, he's got 3 podiums and 1 great result. And this is why he is feeling great. Let's give a big round of applause to Charles.
Have a look at the screen.
Yes, Charles had 1 victory this season, and this is the result. This is a what is this 95? And the leader of the qualifying is changed right in front of you. And 95 pointers just don't fit the by-run zone. Yes, you can see Anton Kozlov. Yeah, he is so disappointed. He doesn't believe what he sees. And Charles is happy. And by the way, Charles hasn't won the qualifying in our championship yet. He's got two event victories, that is Sochi and Igora Drive this year. But the qualifying he has never won before. Or has he in Ryazan? Ah, yes. He was first in Ryazan in 2020, 5th stage. But here in Krasnoyarsk, winning the qualifying is a different thing, because Ryazan is not the epicenter of Russian drift. And now Nikita Shikov and his Supra, nicknamed Groza, and their only attempt to qualify for this 5th stage of Rds Gp 2023. Carville Racing is going to top 32. The headlight suddenly went off and he misses. That should go 1, but we don't care. He misses the track, goes at 2, and then he just needs to take it to the finish. Of course, the emotional condition is very hard, so let's send as much support as possible, and then he leaves this that too early, just not to spin around, and with the small angles he finishes, but at least he finishes. This is very unlikely for Nikita Shikov to get to the by-run zone, but if he gets 95, I'm gonna laugh, really. Well, why not? But I remind you that Charles Eng is now the leader. The second is Anton Kozlov and Grigory Gusev, and the fourth is Leonid Schneider, and then comes Evgeny Loshev. He is not in the by-run zone already. So this is going to be a hard time for his team. He's going to work on the engine. And then it all smells some serious difficulties. But, well, what stage is simple for Syntec Fresh Marketplace. They even had a victory. And Nikita Shikov is also not having everything the way he wants it. He goes around the inner touch and go, and then very carefully he slides outside the track with one of his wheels in the OZ2. Okay, so let's move to our hot pit area, our future hot pit area, where Alicia is there to talk to Nikita. We have talked before with Nikita, and I suggested that Groza is making all this on the purpose. Maybe it wants more attention of yours, but how can it be more? I'm sure that Groza is getting as much attention as it needs, but some incidents sometimes happen. I thank all the fans. It was a very hard qualifying for me, and being the last with one attempt and making a good run is very hard. It's incredibly difficult. I've got so many thoughts in my head, but we're professionals, and this is why I pulled myself together. Let us tell our audience what happened to your Groza. Why are you in the health group? I was about to come at my time, but then I could feel that the handbrake is just falling in and just not working, and the pressure was lost in the system. There were some problems with the hose, and it took some time for us to find the cause of the problem. And we trained normally, but then its problem came out. I just tried to be responsible, to press the gas and to show some good performance. Yes, well done, the audience is crying out. Carville Racing, and the score is already prepared. Let's see the screens and see the results of Nikita Shikov. 26, 33, and this is the total of 83, and he's 26th. Wow. Therefore, in by-run zone, we will see Charles and Anton Kozlov, Grigory Gusev, Leonid Schneider, and such strong guys as Evgeny Loshev and Mytrienko, Roman Tivadar, and this is the list, yes. Charles Eng, Anton Kozlov, Grigory Gusev, Leonid Schneider are the by-runners. The 5 drivers with 90 points, 2 with 94.5, the Mytrienko and Roman Tivadar. Then Maxim Grossman is 8th with 94 points. This is mind-blowing. Then comes Andrei Ostapov with 94 points, Alexei Vakhtin with 93.5, only half a point less, and he's already 10th. Who could ever imagine? Danila Skorobogatov, Arkady Tseregradzev, Ilya Fedorov, 93 points each. The best attempts. Fedorov is the 13th. What a symbolism. Anton Klimco with the best result in his career, and he's 14th. And then Vladislav Popov, Anton Mytrienko, 90 points each. Perfect, but only 15th and 16th respectively. Then there comes all those who didn't get 90 points, and most interestingly, 89 points previously was enough to qualify third, and now you're on the 17th or 18th, like Dmitry Yermokhin and Timofey Dobrovolsky. Then there are 3 drivers who have 88, Ilya Popov, Denis Sorokaputa, Denis Migal, and then 2 87s, Stepan Azarov and Georgy Shevchan. Anatoly Scherbak is 24th with 86 points. Then Nikolai Gorkovenko and Nikita Shikov both have 83 points. This is like a team solidarity. Then Evgeny Spirin with 79, and the last is Vladislav Shubadurov with 77 points. First of all, congratulations to each other. It's great to see all 28 drivers to get to top 32. If our bracket is prepared, we can take a look at them, and then we will be ready to prepare for the opening ceremony. If the tandems are not ready, we will tell you about them a little later before the beginning of the process. And now we start preparing for the drivers' parade. And we will try to begin as soon as possible. I haven't heard the updated timing. I am sure that we are not making it until 2 p.m. and I hope that we will begin at 3:30 p.m. And I remind you that the general sponsor of Russian Drift Series is VTB Bank, BJC, and we begin our break.
Если радио, то максимум.